This is the MLW Radio Network.
Welcome to the Mind of the Meanie, your weekly peek into the world according to former WWE and ECW wrestler, the Blue Meanie. We'll cover wrestling, music, movies, sports, and lots of useless knowledge, all contained in the Mind of the Meanie. I'm Josh Shernoff, and he is the Blue Meanie. Meanie, what's happening, man?
Hey, I'm feeling pretty good. Ask me why.
Why are you feeling so good?
Because now Mind of the Meanie is powered by the MLW Radio Network.
Yes, it is. Yes, so congratulations to us.
Let's pat ourselves on the back.
Little Barry Horowitz pat on the back.
If I could reach, but no, man, it feels pretty good.
Yeah, we as first announced on social media, and then of course you guys heard it when the show started. Yeah, the MLW Network. We're now part of the MLW Network. This is our first official show with them, episode 9. So this has exceeded my wildest dreams of what we were going to be able to do here in 9 episodes.
Dude, it's it's a big accomplishment. Being a huge fan of podcasts, I listen to specifically wrestling podcasts, and the MLW Radio Network is head and shoulders, above everybody. They were, I mean, of course, great shows like Conan Show and, Keeping It 100 and
Mike Whipwreck and Jerry Lynn with Front Row Material. Yeah, they're so
our buddies over at Front Row Material with the drop pies and everying.
The Raven Effect, where Raven, who recently tweeted something out about a blue gargoyle. No, we are in phenomenal company. It's really just awesome to be welcomed into that family, MLW Radio Network, the whole MLW family there. And
for a podcast, I mean, we were 8 episodes into it.
Yeah.
And, for the, Court Bauer and his staff to approach us or, talk to us or consider us, whichever way you want to put it, it means a lot because, I mean, the MLW Radio Network's been around for 10 years now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's a big investment. It's a big investment of their time and energy and resources to promote us. So it means a lot that we are here, and I feel really good about it. I mean, when we got the news, I was super, super happy. And if there's a bright spot in the apocalypse, this is definitely one of them. So thank you to MLW, the MLW Radio Network. Thank you to Mr. Court Bauer. I am a happy meanie, and I'll do a meanie dance in your honor.
There you go. I'm waiting. I can see you. They can't. There it is. He did it.
Yeah, man.
Really did it. No, yeah. So, so pumped to be a part of the MLW Network. Good news for us, kicking things off for episode 9 here.
Yeah. I mean, it can only get better from here. I guess. Yeah. I guess, it's just, just
or not. And then the MLW Network goes, we've made a huge mistake. But no, I think we're just getting started here.
That'll be episode 9. When they go, I don't know. Sorry, meanie, slide whistle.
They put out a press release. We want to clarify it was a 1-episode relationship with Mind of the Meanie. Yeah.
Gotta cover their ass somehow, I guess. I don't know.
So some other thing, talk about social media. You talk about really cool things happening. I had a social distanced visit from the Blue Meanie to my house the other day.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm breaking any quarantine laws.
No, I mean, you definitely left your town to come to mine, so hopefully you didn't bring anything with you. But we were very, very well behaved. We kept our social distance. I refused to let Blue Meanie into my home. which had nothing to do with the social distancing. That was just kind of a rule that I've set for myself. Yeah.
No, and you kept fucking apologizing. I'm like, dude.
I felt so weird. I mean, so Meanie came over. He dropped off some of these awesome Mind of the Meanie shirts, some action figures for my kids,
yes,
and which they are just insanely thrilled at that. And my daughter has her first celebrity crush on the Blue Meanie. She was singing songs to him. She was really.
It was awesome, but
she's 5, so we'll give her a break. But
no, her standards are very low.
But no, it was fun. But it did feel kind of weird. Meanie was just happy to get out of the house and come out there. But it's a weird thing that we have nowadays. To not be like, I had a friend of mine drop something off at my house a couple weeks ago, and I just felt so weird not being like, "Oh, hey man, you want to come on in?" Like, just can I get you something? Can I do whatever? And it's like to have you and Mrs. Meanie just just hey, welcome to my house. Now keep as far away as you possibly can.
Welcome to my lawn.
Yeah.
But here's the deal, man. I got us some of these Mind and Meanie shirts. Shout out to Pro Wrestling Tees for a fantastic job, by the way.
Oh man, these look incredible in person. Like they look good, feel good. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I love working with Pro Wrestling Tees. The shirts are fantastic, and I made sure to get some for me, some for you, and I hate going to the post office, and I've been cooped up in this house for so long. Me and Mrs. Meanie, one of the things we love doing is traveling. And I was like, you know what? Yeah, screw it. Let's just go for a drive. Let's get in a car, drive. And then I was like, you know what? I got to give these shirts to Josh. Let's find out where he lives. And you're about an hour away from me. So I was like, that's perfect. Let's. It was very therapeutic just to get out of the house and go for a drive that's not 5 minutes to the supermarket and back.
I'm sure. Yeah.
That's all our trips. We go to the supermarket, run back, before, we catch the Rona. But, just, it's like, so we're on 95 and Mrs. Meanie, Miss Tracy Root. I know I keep calling her Mrs. Meanie, but she has a name. She's a person, I swear.
Yeah, but you have a name too, and we call you the Blue Meanie. So, I mean,
True.
It's her gimmick.
True. But Mrs. Meanie on her Instagram at vomitus.maximus on Instagram did a video of her with her face looking out the window like she was a dog, just like because she was out of the house. It was cool. So like, and the drive to your place is really nice. So it was just like cool. I mean, there's I live in South Philly where it's just concrete. To see grass and trees and be out in the sunlight. And then we get to your house, which of course I drove past and then had to circle back, as any pro wrestler would do. It was cool just to be out, have human interaction with friends at 6 foot apart.
Yep.
We didn't break any laws. We drew a line in the on the sidewalk there. And,
my daughter tried to. She kept trying to hand you things.
Well, she's 5, so yeah, she's trying to give me bushes to eat.
Yeah, she had grass and was saying that it was like a pretend ice cream cone,
right?
And then warned you not to actually eat it for real. So she had concern for the Blue Meanie.
Well, she's thoughtful.
Yeah,
she's
thoughtful. She's very thoughtful.
5,
yeah,
but she's thoughtful. Yeah.
Shout
out to her. But dude, I wish I had her energy. She is like, I was just winded just watching her running around, and she's got superpowers and all that.
She let you in on that secret. I don't know if she.
Yeah, she broke kayfabe. Yeah, man. She let me in. She pulled back the curtain on her superpowers.
She's only told one friend at school about her superpowers. She didn't tell anybody else. But
and here I am blabbing about it on our podcast, so she's going to put a hit out on me.
Oh man, no, I think her energy. I'm assuming she just gets it from me and my wife in the literal sense that she takes our energy away from us and has because every time she gets more excited, I feel more drained. So
that's her third superpower.
Yeah, the more she runs around, the more I have to sit on the couch.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but it was great to have you come over. And once the apocalypse is over, and I guess we're in a post-apocalyptic world, we'll have you guys back over and do a proper visit, proper barbecue or something like that. You know,
don't threaten me with a good time.
Yeah, hey, I've used that line before. I love that.
I mean, hey, yeah. Hopefully, once this whole thing blows over and we have some semblance, of normalcy, one day, we definitely have to get together. I mentioned to do a McCusker's run.
Any word on them opening up again, or?
Well, in this, at least, I know people around the world are listening to this, but at least in the city of not just South Philly, but in Philadelphia proper, or in the state of Pennsylvania, I should say. Make up my mind. I don't know. We're shut down till June 4th, but they're kind of doing, some soft openings around the area where like businesses can kind of open, but they're, curbside or whatever. So, I'm boys with the McCuskers guys, and Philly is passing it like a thing where bars can open, but you have to go in, buy your stuff, and leave, kind of thing. Like now, so they could do something like go in, buy a cocktail or drink to go, and then I guess they bust you for public intoxication after that. So maybe it's just a scam. Who knows? But it's a work, buddy. No, seriously. But it's something like that. Philly is kind of slowly doing some soft openings. I see some businesses that were shut. They're kind of open. They're like curbside. They bring stuff out to you, run back. Like my favorite place in South Philly. Well, if you're an ECW fan and you've been to the ECW arena, you either go to Tony Luke's or the Oregon Diner. Tony Luke's has been open, but the Oregon Diner, they had been closed for a little while. Now they have it where you call ahead, place your order, and then you can take food to go. And they deliver now, which they never did before. But it's good to see my favorite eating establishment, the Oregon Diner, making a little bit of a comeback there and stuff like that. It's just it'll be good to see businesses come back and make some money, because it's been tragic seeing some of these businesses have to close down. It's a no-win situation here. When you're trying to hide from something that you can't see, and it's like an M. Night Shyamalan movie we're living in right now. It's like M. Night Shyamalan and Ken Burns got together and go, "You make the movie part, I'll make the documentary part." And and M. Night's from here, so I think he lives up your way anyway.
No, he's filmed a lot. I live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and he has filmed. I think he filmed Signs out here, and probably a bunch of other ones. But I know Signs was like the big everyone out in Bucks County. I don't even think I lived in Bucks County at the time, because I grew up about like 20 minutes south of here. So. But I just remember, it was a big deal that M. Night is coming and filming, and we've got aliens or whatever it is here in Bucks County. So, but yeah, so I guess what we're saying is he's responsible for the coronavirus.
Yeah,
heard it here first. Not an opinion; it's a fact. So, don't
fact check us. It's on the internet, so it's got to be true. Yep. And cite us as your source.
Yep.
When you write it up on your conspiracy blog. So
one thing I wanted to bring up, you've got every episode that we do, you kind of take a screen cap of our video feed here and you put it up. One thing that people, aside from the fact that we're both sporting Mind of the Meanie merchandise right now, but one thing that I wanted to point out was you've got a whole new setup here with your beautiful BWO championship belt over your shoulder. I am such a fan of belts. We've talked about that before.
Same here, man.
Such a fan of that belt. I believe is Wildcat Belts made that.
My boy Drew at Wildcat Championship belts. He does all the WWE belts. He's a man for hire. So, he makes belts for everybody. He makes all the WWE belts, the Nathan Hot Dogs Eating championship belts, stuff like that. And Drew, I've known Drew longer than I've been like the Blue Meanie.
Really?
When I first started wrestling, again, here's another thing. When I was living in Al school, one time I took a ride over from Ohio to Pittsburgh with Dan Severn and Phyllis Lee because Dan was working. And I showed up and they had a spot open. It was for Norm Connors, Steel City Wrestling.
Mhm.
And Drew was on those shows. And Drew and Norm were buddies and they were roommates. And whatchamacallit, we just became friends. And he back then, like he was managing on Norm shows that I wrestled.
Oh, wow.
And I would stay at Norm's house and we'd just hang out and, have fun, young guys having fun. And then, time goes by and we're still friends all these years later. But like, as I was finding my way in the wrestling business, he was finding his way, with making belts. And, he just posted like an anniversary photo on his social media not too long ago of like the very first belt he's, commercially sold. And it's so cool to see where Drew and his business over there, Wildcat, has come along. And
well, clearly there's a lot of talent that this guy has. This isn't something that you just go, I think I'll make a belt now. They're so, I mean, to go from there to making the WWE's belts pretty much across the board. I mean, it's WWE title, Universal title, the women's titles, women's tag titles, the Raw and SmackDown tag titles. Yeah.
The Cruiserweight titles, the 24/7 belt.
NXT.
All the NXT belts.
And if anyone's judging with a 24/7 belt, he doesn't necessarily design the belts. He just makes them. So
they send him the art.
Yep.
So
the new Intercontinental title belt. So now you know who to blame for them changing it, which is actually objectively a really nice looking championship belt. I'm just such I just love the old Intercontinental title belt. So
I think universally everybody loves that era, that old, Tito Santana era IC belt, and everybody loves the winged eagle belt.
Yep. And to me, the tag belts too. And I think Demolition,
oh my God,
Heart Foundation, that time table there.
And I want to say those tag belts debuted in Philly,
Really?
Wyndham and Rotunda, when they lost them to Valentine and Beefcake at the Spectrum. I think, well, at least in my mind, that's the first time I saw them when they wore those belts to the Spectrum.
Feels right that Valentine and Beefcake, I can picture them with those belts. And obviously they changed they had the old school square side plate with the star. Do you remember that?
Right.
But yeah, they changed it over time.
Yeah, it's definitely evolved, but just that art, like I look at belts the way, some people might look at paintings. Mm-hmm. I'm a nerd for like craft stuff. Like if there was like this old house marathon on right now, mm-hmm. My day's canceled because I'm going to watch that all day. People who do art, I can sit there and watch, people paint stuff. That's why I love Mrs. Meanie so much. Besides, she's like my little brother more than my wife, but, she does crafts, and she's got this incredible Undertaker vest that she made where, if you hug her, the Undertaker theme starts, and there's like a light up, there's a glow in the dark Paul Bearer that she painted on it with a light up urn. And, if you take a photo of one side, it looks like lightning shooting down and hitting a casket. And she, and that I love people who do crafty stuff like that.
There's rumor that you'll be able to see some of that stuff in the future somewhere.
I believe so.
Yeah,
and, some fun content.
So as we gloss over the fact that you referred to Mrs. Meanie as more like your little brother than some form of spouse or. But as we gloss over that, we'll get back to the belts. So,
side road.
Yeah. So you decided to, I wasn't going to let that one go completely. So the belt, as I'm looking at it, it says we're taking over. It's got the BWO logo on there. It's a blue belt, obviously.
And for those, I took a screen. I usually take the screen cap before.
Mm-hmm.
I know the belt's backwards. I'll post a photo and people go, "Oh, why's the belt written back?" Because like on my end it's backwards, on your side it's forward because the way the podcast app works.
Well, well then I'll make sure to send you over a screen cap.
Nah. Fuck them. I'm just telling you right now. I know it's backwards because that's how the app works. All my books are backwards,
Yeah, people be like, you have an OWD belt. I'm not familiar with that brand.
Drew got one over on me with the rib.
Hey, who wants to buy an OWD t-shirt? That's one I feel like we could bang out pretty easily.
Dude, we're looking for content for our pro wrestling team.
There you go. We're going to put up an OWD. What does that stand for, OWD?
Old world douche. I don't know. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything really funny.
I don't know, but that
send us your suggestions for hashtag OWD on what OWD could stand for.
Hey, I got one. What if you have an old world dick? Well, you know what? We've got something we can do for that old world dick. We can bring it back and turn it into a new world dick. That's right. You can go to bluechew.com. That was not
we're inserting this ad real early.
Not even planned to be where we were going to go into. I don't even have my notes written.
Well, the funny thing is, I was going to say old world dick. I was like, oh, that's but then you just
I did it.
I laid it up and you dunked it. So you dunked the old world dick right there. So.
That's wow. And if you want to be able to dunk your old world dick, you got to go to bluechew.com. Let's talk about bluechew.com for a second, Meanie. Look,
why not?
Now you can increase your performance and get the extra confidence in bed that you need. All right, listen up. Bluechew.com, that's blue, like the color blue, like the Blue Meanie. Blue Chew brings you the first chewable with the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know that they work. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. So if you're sitting there, you're, I believe they call it Netflixing and chilling. That's what the kids do these days. I Hulu and go to bed. But but if you're hanging out there, let's say you're having a snack, you're having some dinner, and then something happens. Well, guess what? It doesn't matter if you have a full stomach, because since it's a chewable, you can take it on a full stomach, and it works up to twice as fast as a pill. So you can be ready whenever that opportunity arises. Meanie, Blue Chew is made in the US of A. It's prescribed online by licensed physicians, so you don't have to go to the doctor or wait in line, especially during a pandemic and the apocalypse. You do not want to go to the doctor just to kind of help yourself out down there. It's all about safety first. It is then prepared and shipped right to you in a discreet package, so no more awkwardness. You don't have to leave your house. You don't have to have your neighbor looking and saying, "Oh, I see what they got. They got their OWD is about to it's about to hulk up." So now, if you could benefit from more confidence where it counts, Blue Chew is the fast and easy way to enhance your performance. And that's an important thing to note too, Meanie, that this isn't just for people who have, a problem, a medical condition. This is for people who might be exhausted. They work really hard all day. They're tired. This could be for that person who's already enjoyed, some activities earlier in the night, and their mind says go, but their body says no. Well, guess what? A little Blue Chew, and you're back in the game. You're back in the match. So right now, Meanie, we have got a special deal for our listeners.
And what is that?
We go to bluechew.com and get your first shipment absolutely free when you use the special promo code Meanie. Just pay $5 shipping. Again, that's BLUE chew.com, blue, like the Blue Meanie. All you ever have to do is think of the Blue Meanie, and you will be able to make sure that you can provide your significant other with a good night. So go to bluechew.com, promo code Meanie to try it free. Meanie, do you have anything to say about Blue Chew?
And trust me, if you're thinking of me in your most intimate moments, you're going to need some Blue Chew, because that's a thought you will not get out of your fucking head. Most importantly, there's nothing more embarrassing than being in that most intimate of moments and you get stage fright. You know what I'm talking about? And you're trying to go, and it's just like trying to put an oyster in the coin slot. It's just brutal, and you're just like, wah, wah. Dude, if you had the Blue Chew ahead of time, you'd be ready to rock and roll, and she will be stalking you once you give her the Blue Chew, performance of your life. You will have many people looking after you once you give them take that Blue Chew and bang the headboards. So go listen, we're trying to save you some money, we're trying to save you some embarrassment. So go get, use our promo code and save some money. Yep,
it's our gift to you. Blue Chew is the better, cheaper, faster choice, and we thank them for sponsoring the podcast today. Remember, when you support our sponsors, you help make the podcast possible, so we really appreciate that. And this is a win-win for everybody. And I guess at this point, I could just say the preceding announcement has been paid for by the OWD.
Old World Dad.
All right, so
auto-tune that part there.
Man, so that was a perfect. I did not expect to get into a
Dude, I caught you off guard.
No, you definitely did.
Dude, I that's been my goal recently, is to catch people off guard and pop them. I'll put them over again this week. RJ City.
Yes.
Excuse that sniffle. I caught myself doing it. Fucking allergies are driving me nuts. Yeah. So if you hear like a sniffle, I'm not like doing coke. It's just like, it's honest allergies.
Yeah. No, the coke you usually do right before we go on the air.
I'm the world's fattest coke. No. Yeah.
It's Diet Coke though, because you're taking care of yourself.
Take a large Coke.
I don't have Diet Coke, and this is completely ripping off Conrad Thompson, but I've got my my lemon lime sparkling water here.
Dude, I feel like ill prepared. Oh. Like I should just take off my headphones and go get myself a seltzer right now.
You can do that.
Hold on,
I can talk about OWD some more if that's what you want.
Hold on, stall for 1 second. That's right there. Hold on,
okay.
Stall.
All right,
don't say anything weird while I'm off mic.
I'm not going to. All right. So now that the Meanie's off mic, let's talk a little bit about personal hygiene. Use promo code Meanie. Go to manscaped.com. They're not even sponsoring this week, but I'm just kind of filling things in, and why not? Why not take care of yourself? I'm drinking a lemon lime sparkling water. I'm curious to see what the Meanie's going to come back with. I also have an ice cold quarter cup of coffee right here that I didn't finish, and now it is ice cold. So now I have iced coffee. And the Meanie is back. Headphones are on.
Hello.
I used that time, Meanie, to give a little plug for Manscaped as well.
Oh man, I have, and here's if you're listening at home, get your razor blades out. Get ready to gig your foreheads. We're talking about seltzer. Okay. I have Bellevue tangerine. Is that what that's?
Bellevue tangerine,
something like that.
What brand? Like
I don't know. Mrs. Meanie picks
because mine's a Wegmans brand.
Per Aqua is the brand, I think.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Let me ode to Conrad. There,
Roll Tide.
Yeah. So.
Oh man. Just a couple of Conrad marks hanging out here, and a
couple dingleberries.
And Conrad could not be more disappointed in listening to this. The fact that this is not a cold beer that we're cracking open, right. But we're gonna get a cease and desist if you're gonna do it. Don't make it seltzer.
He's gonna throw down our fucking man card and shit like that.
Oh man, whenever Starcast returns,
yeah. Yeah.
Bring a 6-pack of seltzer.
Speaking of seltzers, and shout out to RJ City, who I'm sure enjoys quite a seltzer. No, seriously. I was talking about.
He seems like a seltzer man.
Guy with a
just like us,
with a splash of whatever in it. I got a burp. Not passed.
Hey, seltzer from the can.
Sorry.
There it is. No, thank you. God bless you. The No, seltzer from the can. That's a way to get the old burps.
Well, if I prefer when it comes to seltzer, I take it in the can. So, yeah,
sure.
Yeah. How do we segue back from that?
I don't think we do.
Let's
RJ City. Let's talk about RJ
hard
City.
left back to RJ City. Yeah.
And if you want a hard left, go to bluechew.com, promo code meanie.
Yeah, RJ City. No. Seriously, that's been my goal. Like I popped you with the OWD. I threw you off a game, and yeah. But like I watched RJ City's live feeds, like on YouTube. Look up RJ City, subscribe. You could join and get like custom emojis and all that cool shit. Like he's got like a B. Arthur emoji that you could do during his live chats or whatever. And because like RJ's old school Hollywood, B. Arthur match game, smoking a cigar, having a little sherry in your drink. But I did like a little thing where I was like, I want to see a movie of Hervé Villachez and Andre the Giant where they just call each other boss for like 90 minutes. And he started doing the imitation of Hervé Villachez and Andre the Giant talking to each other. And like halfway towards the end, he just started popping himself, which made mission accomplished. So.
He tweeted that out. So yeah, we implore you to go find that. It is hysterical.
Yeah, if you go on the Twitter machine, go to @RJ City. Dude is so funny. He's a great follow. And talking about great content, he definitely I love the guy. He's awesome.
One of the we talk about the silver lining or the bright spot in this being quarantine is I have a lot more time to look at some social media stuff and and so I've really enjoyed RJ City's his feed. Just a funny guy. I was familiar with him before, but I feel like I'm much more familiar with him now.
Yeah, he gets it. He gets what wrestling is, and dude, he like his like improv. Like, we say call it in the ring. Like you go in there and I try to throw him off his game in the chat room there. And he's right there on the ball. He's unshakable, except for, when it comes to doing Hervé Villachez meeting Andre the Giant, which he, by the way, wound up naming that episode, Hervé Villachez meets Andre the Giant. So
what are you
that's
talking
awesome.
about? RJ City?
Mrs. Meanie running.
Hold on. Wait.
Isn't RJ City a heel? Isn't he some kind of a piece of shit or something?
Which is a T-shirt at RJ City's. She threw me off my game. Now here we go. I'm so bad. I threw RJ City off his game, but Tracy, Mrs. Meanie, fucking threw me off my fucking game. Yeah, that is a T-shirt on RJ City's Pro Wrestling Tees. What?
And if you're off your game. Go to
bluechew.com.
No, I'm not here anymore. I'm asleep.
Oh, okay. Mrs. Meanie go night.
I'm asleep.
So Mrs. Meanie hibernation happening.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what I wanted to ask you? We have talked a little bit in the past about this like off air that you wanted to like, hey, like you've kind of talked about it and I've kind of given you like we'll talk about it on the show. I'd love to hear about it. There's a documentary, Waldo on Weed.
Oh yeah, man.
That you have been wanting to talk about for a while. And I feel like every time I'm like, oh yeah, let's just talk about it on the show. And then I inevitably steer you in a different direction and it never gets talked about. And it was something last week I like wrote down. I wanted to make sure that because I want to hear about this. I want to know about this documentary. Waldo on Weed. I mean, that's two of my favorite childhood things. Waldo and the word on. So yeah, throw weed in the mix and it's and
if you always want to be on, go to bluechew.com.
And if you feel like you're a little in the weeds, you can go to manscaped.com, promo code meanie, and clean that up. So Waldo on Weed, the documentary, tell us a little bit about this.
This has been like a passion project. Something I really have been looking forward to. mostly because, I believe in the miracles of medical cannabis, marijuana, all that good stuff, and the health benefits that it does. And myself, I take CBD all the here and there for aches and pains, or just when I can't sleep. Some of my best sleep has been on CBD and stuff like that. But when it comes to Waldo and weed, I have a good friend named Tommy Avalone. I've known him forever. He's a huge wrestling fan. He worked in radio here in Philly, but when he wasn't working in radio, he was producing independent movies, and he veered from doing movies to documentaries. Most notably, he did a really good documentary with Mick Foley, I Am Santa Claus, which you can find on Netflix. He did one on Ghostbusters, the fans of Ghostbusters, called Ghost Heads.
Well,
and
where can you find that?
I believe that's on Netflix as well. But they're also on DVD, Blu-ray, all that good stuff. Yeah.
It might be on Prime. Just
Mrs. Meanie with the help here. Yeah, go into Amazon Prime. But Waldo and Weed, I made a decision. I was going to buy this one. I bought a hard copy on Blu-ray to support the cause.
And if you need a hard copy, I'm sorry. Well, let's keep
no. Bluetooth.com. Use promo code Meanie. The story of Waldo and Weed is about a couple from Philadelphia named Brian and Danielle Dwyer, who are friends with Tommy. They had a child named Waldo, hence the name Waldo and Weed, who, when he was born, they started noticing a little something in his eye, like a silvery kind of cloudy look. And they went to the doctor, and he had ocular cancer, like cancer in his eye.
Wow, how old was he?
I want to say within the first year. I mean, he wasn't even walking or nothing like that, but they noticed a change in, his mood and stuff like that. And it's very heartbreaking to see any child go through this. And it's documented right here in this documentary, Waldo and Weed. They, start with the chemotherapy, and they notice his mood had changed and stuff like that. And, Brian and Danielle have friends who have knowledge of alternative medicines with cannabis oil and stuff like that. And they take a mission, a risky mission out to California to get medical grade cannabis. And they bring it back, and they do a tiny little run with like a tiny dosage with Waldo. And like I say, the miracle, use of cannabis, all of a sudden Waldo's back to his normal self. He's smiling, he's laughing, he's eating.
Now, not to give away, the
right,
because I want people to watch this,
it regardless.
Like myself.
Yeah.
What I'm curious is, when you say back to himself, is this just like an oral dosage of like a? Is it THC? Is it CBD?
Joints, Josh.
Mrs. Meanie,
are you smoking the weed? No. Well, okay, Mrs. Meanie, but obviously you're not going to have a 1-year-old and explaining to him, here's a joint. Here's how
it's in his face.
If you can't roll it yourself, you don't get your treatment today.
I'm one kid.
Yeah, I'm assuming there's some sort of oral thing. Now, his personality returning to the way that it was that because of this, or was he starting to have any effects, like lessening the cancer?
With the chemo, he was just lethargic.
So it was helping him with during the chemo.
It was helping during the chemo because he was getting very lethargic and just wasn't his normal self. Because before, they found the cancer, and when started the chemotherapy and stuff like that, he was a fun-loving kid. And then, once you see what chemo does to a person, I mean, we see what it does to adults all the time.
Let alone a small child.
See it happen to a small child. So what they would do is get the cannabis oil and do like a little droplet on the pinky, and rub it in the gums and stuff like that. And almost automatically within hours, he was smiling, he was laughing, he was, singing songs, there's nothing better than, seeing a kid laughing and singing and just being his normal, happy self.
And I almost feel like that it's an even stronger case for that working, because this is a kid who's not, a lot of times like an adult could have more of like a psychosomatic type of response to something. Oh, I took it, therefore I'm now
like a placebo effect where you're
exactly where you now think that you're, better because of it. With a kid, he's not going to, they put a little thing in there. I'm sure he didn't have wasn't grasping the concept of, oh, this will make me in a better mood. So I'm sure that really shows.
It's like the old Adam Sandler skit where he's doing a skit where he sells, as Adam Sandler sells David Spade, like fake weed. And he's like, hi, oh, you getting high there? He's like, oh man, I'm so stoned. Oh, you feeling good, right? I'm so stoned. Oh yeah, man, you just smoked pencil shavings. No, this is like, there's no preconceived notion. There's no theater of the mind. It's a child.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. That's why I think it's such a great case for this working.
And there's a couple twists and turns within the movie. I don't want to give away where there's a little bit of pushback and stuff like that, where they just have to figure out how to make this, more feasible and easier to do with Waldo. But the movie is definitely uplifting. Tommy Avalone directed, produced it, and also he got Whoopi Goldberg on board to help produce this. Which is it's a huge bonus for, the production and stuff like that, and giving the movie some credibility and getting it out there to the masses and stuff like that. So if you go on Amazon and you can order I ordered the Blu-ray. If you're also if you want to buy the DVD and support the Cauliflower Alley Club, if you Amazon Smiles. If you go, they have a thing with Amazon. If you go to smiles.amazon.com and you can select a charity, I always select the Cauliflower Alley Club. So when I make a purchase on Amazon, a percentage goes towards the Cauliflower Alley. So you're buying a great documentary and you're supporting wrestlers in need. So it's a win-win situation right there.
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and I hope everybody will check that out. Waldo on weed.
Yeah, if you love documentaries like I do, I could watch a documentary on basically anything. It's like back in the day with Behind the Music. I could watch a Behind the Music on Tony Orlando and Dawn and be like, oh, I never knew that. There's bands I hate it, and I watch the Behind the Music. I go, you know what? Maybe I kind of like them now.
A well-done documentary can pull you in,
right?
No matter what the subject is, I believe. Because I've caught myself on TV flipping through going, oh, this is kind of interesting. And it's something that I would have fallen asleep had someone just mentioned, hey, we're going to talk about this, but the documentary is so engaging,
Yeah. And there's things where I'm just like, I hate this. I hate that. But you watch and you're like, maybe I'm the asshole. Maybe I'm the jerk here in this equation. So, definitely go to Amazon and get yourself a Blu-ray or DVD. I won't judge you. But blue, I prefer blue, so Blu-ray, and get yourself a copy of Waldo on Weed.
So at this point, there's we almost never have a run sheet. Of what we want to talk about. But this week we did, because there were a couple things we wanted to talk about, and it was important. We had talked off air about not having terrible transitions. So this is kind of my way of closing down one thing to be able to bring things up. Obviously we want to talk, the wrestling world lost the world lost an incredible human being this week with Shad Gaspard. And we wanted to talk about that a little bit, and also talk about something that Collar and Elbow's doing that maybe, can help out, help his family out. So Meanie, did you want to say anything about this?
Yeah. The wrestling world and all mankind was, delivered a gut punch this week, with the passing of Shad Gaspard. Shad was a giant of a man, but a kid at heart. Anytime I saw him, anytime I was around him, it was always a big childlike smile and a big hug and hello, and he always made you feel welcome. And I was fortunate enough to actually do a match with him in Crime Time and JTG and stuff like that. And great guys. I mean, you feel bad when anybody dies, but man, this was just a particularly heavy hit because not only did he pass away way too soon, he was a hero in a situation where, him and his family went out to the beach. First day opening the beach in California. And then, they go to the water and a rip tide comes along and, starts pulling everybody out. And, lifeguards go to save him, but he directs them to his 10-year-old son instead. So that's the sign of a true hero, a true father, like any father would have done, in the right mind to, put their kid's safety ahead of theirs. And, unfortunately, he disappeared and reappeared, and sadly is no longer with us. But the folks over at Collar and Elbow are doing something really cool, really special. They have a special Shad inspired t-shirt over at collarandelbowbrand.com where 100% of proceeds go to help his family. And I was talking to Al and Rod over there at Collar and Elbow, and they said the response has been awesome. So if you are unaware of this, if you have yet to help support the cause, go to collarandelbowbrand.com and get the Shad Gaspard Brooklyn Hero t-shirt, and all the funds go to help his family and help them get by and all that good stuff. But
it's kind of influenced off of a shirt. There's a picture of him wearing a Mike Tyson shirt.
Yeah.
And it's kind of inspired off of that. And it's just like, I only met him one time. He was signing in the I guess it would have been WrestleCon last year.
Yeah.
In New York, and him and JTG were doing a signing in the booth next to where I was there with Bill Apter. And, we went over and said hello. You would have thought that he was, if you were an outsider looking in at my interaction with him, you would have thought that we were longtime friends. JTG as well. I don't want to, JTG, super, super great guy as well. And they were just so friendly instantly. We're laughing, we're talking. They offered to do, we were talking a little bit about my show. They offered to do I had a bunch of opens of the, this is Crime Time and you're watching. Right. So Says Shernoff. They did those. They went above and beyond. It was just hilarious. And then one of my favorite memories was when we weren't doing that. So Calvin Tan, who, one of my lifelong friends and has done a lot of the camera work for me with a lot of those shows. Calvin's a magician. And so Calvin started, somehow that came up, and Calvin was like, hey, you guys want to see some magic? And he starts doing some magic for them. And I have a video of, I took with my phone of him doing magic for them. And just, you talked about him having kind of like a childlike heart.
Yeah.
That Shad's enjoyment of the magic trick, and just the way that he's like, this is why I hate magic. This is why I hate magic. Cause it kept it was one of those tricks where, you think it's going to be one thing and then it switches, and it just kept getting him.
Yeah.
And, but you could just see how much he was enjoying it. And just, and like I said, man, I'm not going to, suggest that I was friends with him in any way, shape, or form. Right. But I will say I wish I was, because he definitely seemed like the type of person that you'd want to have as a friend. And it was just hard. It's just heartbreaking, as a father looking at that with, it was very upsetting. So we just wanted to take a slice of the show just to kind of honor him, tell you about the Collar and Elbow t-shirt, which will help his family, and just, send our best to his friends and colleagues and fans and family, and just it's an awful tragedy.
Yeah. He wrestling's such a brotherhood, and, No, a lot of the wrestlers are extended family because of just the stuff we go through and the experiences we have together. We pretty much suffer through the same stuff wrestlers go through. And we also have the joys as well. It's not all bleak in the wrestling world, but if there was a bright spot, it was definitely Shad. And just being around him. And the first time I met him, I felt like I knew him forever. And then the last time I saw him was at the ECW Arena for Icons wrestling convention. And they were there, and Meanie! And I go over, give him a big hug, and do the victory lap, when I say hello to everybody. But I always look forward to seeing those guys, Crime Time guys. I mean, their gimmick was them, just, charismatic, playful, and just believable because they were, true. Well, Shad was a true, real deal, fun-loving, lovable guy, and JTG is just as fun and lovable. And JTG just posted a video TikTok of the last time him and Shad were together, and they're doing the percolator dance. And if you watch that video, that's them. That's them to a T. That's their characters. What you saw in WWE, them having fun. That was them. And that was them in real life. And then, like they say, the best wrestling personalities are your own personality turned up, to 10. Yeah. But they were on 10 all the time because they were just lovable. They are lovable guys, And I could go on another 2 hours talking about how cool they were and awesome, how cool Shad was, and awesome Shad was. But go support the cause over at Collar and Elbow, and let's help their family get through this.
While we're, in such an uplifting mood for our listeners, one thing that we've been talking about for a couple of weeks is the Dark Side of the Ring documentary, and that we wanted to touch base on the Owen Hart episode after that happened. We promise you at some point we're going to get back to fun things to talk about.
Yeah.
But look, I mean, it's, obviously, shifting gears here, the like we said before, there's no good transition from any of this type of stuff. So forgive me for not having a good one. But Dark Side of the Ring, they just had their season finale, documenting the Owen Hart tragedy. We have gone on and on this show in the past about what fans we are of Dark Side of the Ring, and the way that they handle all of these subjects is really great. So before we talk about, you were there at Over the Edge at just about this is a couple days when this podcast comes out, a couple days after the 21st anniversary of it happening. Yeah. And you were there. But first, before we get to your story and what you remember from that night, what did you think of the documentary?
Again, Evan and Jason, Evan Hussney. Sorry, first day.
One of those.
First day with the new mouth, man. The mouth of the meanie is betraying the mind of the meanie. Evan and Jason do a fantastic job. Again, I have to say they do a fantastic job with the time they are allotted to cover these stories. A lot of people go, well, they forgot this, they forgot that. Well, they got 44 minutes to do this. And hopefully, let me, before I get into this episode, hopefully down the line, if Vice would be willing, they could do like a whole box set and do a director's cut with extended episodes, extended interviews, because I'd be the first one in line to buy it because they do a fantastic job with the time they are allotted. And that said, I think they hit on a lot of things I already knew, and there's a lot of things I never knew that I didn't know, and hats off to them, and shout out to David Bixenspan, wrestling journalist, who helped out on this episode because for whatever reason, a lot of people missed out on getting the police reports and stuff like that. And they got on Dark Side of the Ring, they got the police reports mostly, in fact, mostly due to David Bixenspan, doing the work, getting the police reports and giving it to the Dark Side guys. So big shout out to Dave. Big shout out to all that, because there's a lot of stuff we didn't even know. And then, in the episode, I mean, the most stunning part of the episode is when, Martha's going through the evidence and she's got the clip, the hook.
Yeah.
That had, Owen, that was supposed to hold Owen. And, I almost, I let out a gasp. I was like, oh my God, because I got a hook on my belt loop that holds my keys that would probably be more sturdy than what they had Owen strapped up to. And then another good thing they did, they showed the prior harnesses where, it's around the legs, around the shoulders and all that stuff, where he was more secure, more safe compared to what they had that night. It's sad, and it's unfortunate that, everything that happened there. I mean, go watch. I'm not going to sit here and do a minute by minute review, but I'm just like, thoughts that are coming to me based on the episode. Definitely watch it. Watch Dark Side of the Ring. Watch all of them. But on this one, indeed, this is another one they probably could have done a two-parter, kind of like when they opened up with the Benoit episode. They did a season premiere two episode. They easily could have done a 2-episode on this one as well. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully they do like an extended director's cut down the line.
One of the things that I had wanted to bring up on our show here to talk to you about was something that had always kind of been in my memory. But before we talked about this, I knew that you were there.
Yeah.
And I was curious about something. While I was watching the Dark Side of the Ring, one of the things that they kept talking about was how the wrestlers had to wrestle afterwards, where there was the broken board in the ring and there was blood in the ring.
Right. And
I hope that what I'm going to say is not, this is not excusing anything. This is not whatever, but if you're the family or the friends of Owen Hart, to me, I would imagine that while nothing makes anything better, having a clearer picture on things being less violent would at least mean something. So one of the things I wanted to say was, it wasn't his blood. And for years, and even in the documentary, it was referenced as Owen Hart's blood. And thanks to the WWE Network putting up Sunday Night Heat episodes recently, I was actually able to go back, and it was at the end of your match. Gangrel and the Brood used to do a thing called a bloodbath, where the lights would go out and it would come back on and the wrestlers were covered in blood. You can see at that point that there's no blood in the ring. And then you can actually see where Matt Hardy puts his arm down on the ring after the bloodbath.
Right.
And then the blood is there. And then the blood is there from the start of the pay-per-view through the end of it. I'm not going to suggest that, for all I know, maybe he bled additionally and is more coincidental that it was that spot. But, and I'm not trying to get this as like, oh, Josh pointed this out. This is, so I'm not trying to, all I'm saying is if you're family or friends of Owen Hart, to me, it would be even in the littlest bit comforting to know that it was not as violent as you may have expected from seeing that blood there if you didn't know where it came from. Does that make any sense?
Right. And like before we recorded today, I have to give another shout out to, again, I listen to podcasts and I watch YouTube podcasts. Before we came on the air, and I'm glad you brought this up. Jason Pollock and Wei Ting over at Post Wrestling had David Bixenspan on, and they brought up the blood, and they brought up that, and
they did. So they did bring up.
They brought it up, but like they did the bloodbath and all that stuff. But the police also did whatever the blood test is. There are specks of real blood.
Okay,
but you are correct. This isn't me being gotcha.
No.
But,
you know what? The only reason I would want to be correct
Right.
would be because it would make me feel as though things were just ever so slightly less violent for him.
Right.
And and that's, I hope the listeners understand that was my only point on that. Whether there was a little bit of blood, a lot of blood, whatever, what happened, and it doesn't change anything other than just trying to, when something happens like that, I think we as, I can speak only as a fan, went back and for the last 21 years have been, you almost replay it in your head trying to figure out how can you go back in time and change it. Right. And so for me, the realization that maybe something so unbelievably horrible could be, 1/8% less horrible, if that makes any sense. Like that was my thought on it. But unfortunately now what you're saying is apparently there was a mix, and
the majority of that spot was the bloodbath, the Brood's bloodbath. But I'm sure there's specks here and there that were Owens. But
and it's not like somebody's going to.
It sucks either way.
I was going to say it's not like someone's going to be out there wrestling and they're going to go, "Oh my god, I can't believe it! It's Owens' blood and he just fell and died." And then someone's going to go, "Oh no, it's from the bloodbath," and they're going to go, "Oh well, then everything's fine." So it's
we know we know this 21 years later, and but but
imagine you're out there that night right afterwards.
Imagine you hadn't watched the Sunday Night Heat before, and you just know the pay-per-view part, and then they talk about that. So shout out to David and you and Jason Pollock and Wei Ting over at Post Wrestling for bringing a little bit of light on that, because a lot of people don't know about it. And just like with David and the police reports and stuff like that. So
it was very jarring to see. I didn't put that together until right this second.
Yeah, Mrs. Meanie said it was jarring for her as well. It's just jarring all around. It's just and Jason and Evan did a great job covering all this stuff in Dark Side.
And like you mentioned, the amount of time that they had, and I had heard them on a podcast talking about they did a podcast through the Grill and JR show with Conrad, and they talked about that it could have been 2 hours. And I think one of the reasons was they kind of had this on their schedule as with a question mark, because they hadn't yet spoken to Martha Hart. And I think by the time they realized, okay, this is something we're going to be able to do, as they put it in the interview, it's not a YouTube channel, or it's not like you and I have the luxury of just going on as long as we want to on an episode.
Trust me, we've been told.
Yes. But we can do that. They have, Vice has ordered 44 minutes, let's say, right? They don't get to say, okay, but we're going to give you 45. It's like, no, you're not. You're going to give us 44. Figure out how to get there. But like you said, hopefully, I'm sure there's more stuff. But they also mentioned how Martha Hart wants to do more things in the future, documentary stuff, or feature film.
And one of the, a bright spot that comes out of such a dark story is the will of Martha Hart. And their son, son Oj, and the daughter, and because throughout the years there's been this perception of Martha Hart, this perception, she hates wrestling, she doesn't want to do anything with wrestling. Well, no, she just doesn't want to have anything to do with WWE, which is fine, which is she has every right. But when wrestling rumor mills and people go, people think or just quoting stuff they heard, and then they, the quality of material starts breaking down from person to person to person. It was refreshing to see how strong-willed Martha Hart it was, and the fact that she doesn't hate wrestling. She doesn't want to bury Owen's legacy in wrestling. She just doesn't want WWE to profit.
I mean, God, his tombstone is a picture of him in his wrestling gear. On his tombstone. This is not something. And that's the thing. She's very, and I also heard her speak on Chris Jericho's podcast.
Definitely check that out.
Yeah, and she, really goes into some interesting detail about Owen's early career, and because she knew him before when he was just in school. He was 15 years old, And so it's very interesting. And yeah, I agree with you completely. People have had this perception of, well, why does she want his legacy to die? Why does she, and it's not that. I mean, this is, and above all else, it's not for any wrestling fans or friends of his or colleagues to say how she should feel, how her family should feel about the WWE connection and the Hall of Fame. And they have, I think after this, what my hope is that they've been very, very clear. Both Oj and Martha Hart have been very clear that neither of them would ever approve for him to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I hope that that's something that everybody can just acknowledge. He is a Hall of Famer. Whether he's in the WWE Hall of Fame or not, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no question.
Whether he's in any Hall of Fame or not, but he is actually in other professional wrestling Hall of Fames.
Yes.
The WWE Hall of Fame, not to take anything away from the people who've been inducted into that, in that regard, it is a very real Hall of Fame. But at the same time, it's also a television show in a lot of ways. The way that they book the Hall of Fame class to be booked like a show, like a wrestling event. And it's not the end all be all, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And, you can watch every Owen Hart match you've ever wanted to watch. It's all there. It's available. Watch that, enjoy that. Hopefully people will just kind of be able to kind of move on from the idea of him being in the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah, you can still celebrate his life. Speaking of celebrating his life, Pro Wrestling Tees and Martha Hart are working together on doing a special Owen Hart t-shirt over at Pro Wrestling Tees, where the proceeds go to the Owen Hart Foundation, which which Martha started in his name. They do wonderful stuff. If you listen to the Jericho podcast, they do great stuff in the name of Owen Hart. So go to ProWrestlingTees.com and get yourself an Owen Hart shirt and a Dark Side of the Ring shirt too. I'm going to do that, once we're done here, but I'm going to, get both of those. There's ways to celebrate his life. It doesn't always have to be in the WWE Hall of Fame. Like you said, he's in other wrestling Hall of Fames. And I would love to see like New Japan bring the family over and do something special, with the family and stuff like that and celebrate, Owen, because, he had a great run in New Japan. Some legendary matches with, Jushin Liger and all that stuff. And
one thing about to wrap up talking about the documentary part, one thing at the very end that just stuck with me, it's something that Jericho also said in his podcast, but he said it in the episode of Dark Side of the Ring, was talking about just a couple of years later, because it really is, Owen Hart didn't fit in the 1999 WWF the way that he fit in the 1996 or 97, WWF. Yeah. He didn't fit the same way. But had he been able to be around and be in the wrestling business and still be employed in that company come 2000, 2001, when you had your Eddie Guerreros and your Chris Benoits and your Chris Jerichos and Dean Malenko and all of these people that grew up watching Owen Hart and were inspired by his style, it is mind-boggling to imagine, as Jericho put it, the resurgence that his career could have had. I think that is the time when you would have started to see Owen Hart as the main eventer. You would have started to see him break out of Brett's shadow in the wrestling industry and just thrive, because you would have seen him in the ring with any of those people that Jericho had mentioned, that I just mentioned now. And oh my God, like that would have been, I don't think people realize until you look back at some of his old stuff that Dark Side of the Ring showed how incredibly talented and ahead of his time Owen Hart really was, and how he really ushered that style in, which in a lot of ways, that's the main style in professional wrestling today.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting to, as a little bow on it of what could have been. And that's part of the tragedy of it,
Yeah.
Obviously there's nothing more tragic than the fact that he was a husband and a father and a son and a brother, and an uncle and his family, and he was, and a friend to people and, but what I'd like to take back, and I know this is weird again, we talked about, we never have a format
right
on this show. And now I feel like this is the most format we've ever had. But before we get into that night, because, I know it's important to you, you do want to tell kind of the story and your way of being able to honor it. But I'd like to know how well obviously you were on the roster at the same time. How well did you know Owen Hart?
I mean, we shared a locker room for 2 years, and I'd been around Owen as a fan as well, which is totally different than being one of the boys. But dude, he was such a good guy. I feel like I'm going to repeat a lot of things that have been said a million times, but I'm here to confirm that they're all true. All the good stuff you've heard about Owen. Just a great guy. Great ribber. And like if Owen ever ribbed you, it was like a badge of honor. His ribs were never malicious or mean-spirited or didn't cost you money or didn't hurt physically or emotionally. You just laughed and you go, that fucking Owen, man. In a good way. In a good way.
Did he ever rib you, or were you ever? Is there one of his ribs that you remember fondly?
Just like light, like before like a WWE Raw or a pay-per-view. I think it was a Raw. I want to say it was on the West Coast, or just we would always do like these pre-show signings where like VIPs come through. You sign a piece of paper that has the WWE logo or whatever logo on it. Wrestler signs it, hands it to you. You sign it, hand it to the next guy, so on and so forth. And we're doing the one signing, and somebody signed their piece of paper, slid it down to me. I would sign it, hand it to Owen, and Owen was good for taking like couple split seconds and write something underneath your signature with like maybe like a little arrow pointing it to like, so like say Al Snow handed me something, I'd sign it, hand it to Owen, underneath my signature, or even Al's signature would go, call the police, or I'm very lonely and I find you oddly attractive underneath your signature, and pass it on. And like I'm catching it out of my side eye, I'm just like, oh no. What's then those are the two I caught. Okay. Those are the two I caught. But you got your game face on, and you can't go, oh wait, you stop that. But you're just like looking over, and you're just like you're smirking, you're shaking your head, and you're just like elbowing the guy next to you. You're like, Owen's at it, Owen's at it again, or whatever. There was one time WWE was in Toronto, which is, Hart country, well, all of Canada's Hart country. I mean, I know somebody out there is fact checking going, well, they're from Alberta, Canada. No, Canada is Hart country. Mm-hmm. And, I was supposed to travel with Al. I was on the road with Al Snow. We were doing a show at the Sky Dome that night. And, there was a miscommunication between me and Al. I thought he was going to get there a certain time. He thought I was getting there a certain time. Either way, he thought I got there before him and went on to the hotel. And I landed, and I thought he was coming in, and I was going to meet with him and go to the hotel. So I'm sitting there, you go through customs, all that good stuff, and you just wait at the gate and wait for him to come through and all that stuff. Meanwhile, Al is not coming through, and I'm just waiting and waiting and waiting. And then here comes Owen. Hey, Meanie, we waiting for somebody? I was like, yeah, I'm waiting for Al. I don't know where he's at. I'm looking at my watch, and he's like, where you staying? We were staying in the same hotel, TV hotel, or whatever. And then he offers me a ride, and I was like, of course, Owen's got Owen always had rides with people. Like Owen always had, like, to save money on rental cars or hotels. He always had friends, fans in different cities that he would stay with. Mm-hmm. Like, there's a friend of mine, Dr. Roma Scavage. Him and his family, if Owen was in the area, Owen was staying at their ranch. And, Owen would stay there, hang out with the kids, play with the kids, play ribs on the kids. Owen wasn't above, ribbing a kid. So, so Owen would stay with, Dr. Roma Scavenge and stuff like that. But we're in Toronto, and, like I said, it's Hart country, and Owen knows somebody there, and whoever this person is, I can't remember the name. It's, it's some person I'm just meeting once and for the first and last time.
Sure.
They get Owen a limo. So I was like, all right. So I hop in a limo with Owen's friend, and we go to the hotel, and we get there, and there's Al. I was like, oh, dude, I thought you were still coming in. He's like, dude, I thought you got in and left or whatever. Misconnections. So we all go to the restaurant and eat, and like I'm building this up like it's this big elaborate rib, and it's not. But like we're sitting there lunching. Owen's going on to Al, I don't know. I mean, he was sitting there waiting for you like a puppy dog, waiting for his master to come home. Just like, oh God, I hope he comes home to feed me and all this stuff. And like, he says it in a way Owen can say something. And like I said, there's certain people who can say whatever they want to me, and it's cool. And if you don't know me like that, I get it hot. But Owen would have a way of saying things to you that you're just honored. You're honored. Owen's talking about you and breaking your stones. Yep. So I was like, oh yeah, man. He was just sitting there, and Owen would like look up, like faking like a dog, like looking at the door, waiting for a treat. Like, yeah, I mean, he was like, and like we're all just dying laughing and all that good stuff. But there one time again, I want to say this was out in the West Coast. I was always riding with Al, or a combination of me, Al, and Mick Foley, and we're going on to the next town, and Owen's frugal. It was almost like a frugal off between like who could be more frugal between Mick and Owen, and Owen hops in with us, and it's after a show. There's really nothing good to eat. After you leave the building and everything's pretty much closed, and nobody can figure out what to eat. And so we're like, oh, let's just get some drive-through and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, great. Now I'm just going to have crumbs in my lap. Just something like that. Which, if I said it, people are like, just shut up and eat your sandwich. But Owen says it, and you're in just stitches because he's got this delivery. It's oh, great. I'm going to have crumbs in my lap. I'm going to have... it's gonna be grease on my shirt or whatever. He would just be going on and on in a playful way that just Owen, like when like the road can get to you. People go, oh, Meanie's such a nice guy, but 2 weeks on the road, I could be a prick. Just leave me alone, put down my bags, lay down, and try to recoup for a day and a half before I have to go back out and do it again. But the road would get to you, but like it'd be like Owen would be the guy who would lighten up the mood. Like you could be on the road and just be in a miserable mood, and you're missing home, missing loved ones, and Owen would come in and just do something funny and lighten the mood and give you that little boost, that little charge to laugh and go about what the task at hand, which was entertaining the fans. So Owen was just loved by all. I mean, if someone didn't like Owen Hart, they just didn't like human beings in general, which, and I hate people. I hate people, but I love Owen Hart. So I don't hate people.
Oh, I understand what you mean.
But yeah, everybody out there is listening there. There's like a section. They have their own section of the human race where they go, these fuckers, these fucking people. But I think universally Owen was loved by all. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that you wrestled on Sunday Night Heat.
Yeah.
Main eventing Sunday Night Heat. Let's not not give you your credit. But so you were obviously there. Did you interact with Owen at all? Do you have any memories of Owen from that day beforehand?
Well, I'll preface this before, like the day before we were in Chicago, at the Allstate. No, we're at the old
Rosemont
Horizon.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is always cool. I love Chicago. And being a WWE fan, their first pay-per-view was from Chicago, the Wrestling Classic, which is like one of my favorite cards of all time. So go watch that on the WWE Network. Always liked shows from Chicago when WWE would run there in the 80s because like the referees like would be like commission refs, and they always had this certain insignia patch on their shirts, which made the show seem a little bit different, a little bit more special. So anytime I could go to Chicago was a good time. So the night before Over the Edge, we're in Chicago, and around the loop, we had been doing a match where Goldust wrestles Godfather, and I run interference and all this stuff, and we're doing the match around the loop. Early in the show, Owen had tagged with Jeff Jarrett and wrestled Edge and Christian.
Yeah.
So he wrestled as Owen Hart that night. So flash forward, Goldust is against the Godfather, and I'm in the corner. I'm Dustin or Goldust's manager, second or whatever you want to call me. And we're doing the basic, the same match we've been doing around the loop. And except this time, since the pay-per-view's the next night and Owen's wrestling the Godfather, I run interference, it backfires on the Godfather. He pins Dustin 1, 2, 3. And then here comes the Blue Blazer. Blue Blazer does a run in. Godfather gets, the upper hand on him. So Owen Hart's technically, he wrestled that night as Owen Hart, but he also ran out in Godfather versus Owen Hart. And the night before, his last appearance in the WWE on the WWE show was with me, Godfather, Dustin, and Edge Christian. And we left the ring together. Flash forward to the next day, we're flying from Chicago to Kansas City, and going through. Everybody's got their rituals, so you go through security, get on the flight, you're sitting in your seat, and thankfully I had a window seat, and thankfully this was like pre 9/11 where like flights weren't totally sold out, where you're elbow to elbow with somebody. So I got a window seat sitting there, and I'm just like looking through like the Sky Mall or whatever at the time, just keeping my mind off whatever, and I hear, great. I have to sit next to DeMeanie. Now I'll never get any sleep on this flight. And I look at, and it's Owen. So, again, you got to laugh, man. Owen breaks your stones. It's a badge of honor. He's like, oh, great. So there's me, middle seat, and Owen had the aisle, which, I don't know if he'd prefer the window seat. I would have gladly gave him my window seat. But so on that flight, we talk for a little bit, and it's not a long flight. He gets a little catnap in, and then we're in Kansas City, and we go to the baggage claim, and this is where the infamous JBL Steve Blackman fight happened, where they had an issue and they have a fight. But I'm again at the baggage claim. Owen's like on my left, and I'm looking for my bag, and he goes, "I'll look out," and stand up and look, and there's JBL and Steve Blackman going at it, and that gets broken up, and so like maybe 20 feet from us or whatever.
Wow. I didn't realize it was that day.
Yeah. And they even acknowledged it either on Heat or on the pay-per-view. Oh, these guys, there was a Donnie Brook at the baggage claim, signature JR, JR-ism, there was a Pier Sixer or whatever. Then that happened. And then we go to, I forget the name of the arena in Kansas City.
Kemper Arena.
Kemper. I almost wanted to say Kiefer, like the Kiefer from Cinderella, Tom Kiefer. The Tom Kiefer Arena. We're at the Tom Kiefer Arena. The Kemper Arena. And it's business as usual. When you go to an event Call time's 1:00. So it's basically a bunch of hurry up and wait. You get to the building, you're hanging out, just waiting for a lineup sheet to go up so you can mentally prepare for what you're about to do. And there was a time where I'm standing in the hallway, and there's Bob Holly, who I love. Bob Holly, great guy. I mean, everybody thinks he's grumpy, but like if you get to know Bob, he's awesome. And we're just standing there talking, and while we're talking, here comes Owen Hart walking down the hall, and he's got his blue blazer mask on. And he's got a WWE cameraman jumpsuit on, which he owned. Like, so.
So he just brought his own jumpsuit with him?
He owns this, like back in the day, WWE in the 80s, like the cameraman had to wear these, jumper suits.
The blue jumpsuit with the logo on the back.
Kind of like Top Gun, but WWE logo on the back. It's our brand, pal. And he's got this jumpsuit, which I guess he always kept, or he got from WWE, and he kept it because, like when he was doing stuff like Blue Blazer or whatever, anytime he had to go through an audience, he'd throw in this jumpsuit, throw in a hat, and that was his disguise going through the a crowd or an audience or whatever. So me and Bob are talking, and here comes Owen, and he's got the mask on, and he's got the WWE cameraman suit, and we're just like. We chuckle. We're like, and he walks up to Bob. He goes, "Bob Holly, Blue Blazer, pleasant, nice to meet you. Heard a lot about you." And then he looks at me and he goes, shakes my hand, goes, Blue Meanie, huh? We're gonna have to do something about that name. Yeah. He's Blue Blazer. I'm Blue Meanie. Yeah.
I was gonna ask you about that. If there's ever any talk about the two of you together,
that would have been awesome, dude.
Because you're two, for lack of a better term, comedy acts in those characters.
Two cartoon characters.
Yeah.
Custom.
Both of, I mean.
The one thing, I don't regret going to WWE, but God, my character in the 80s would have been.
Oh, man.
Would have been custom made for
Absolutely.
WWE. But, I come along in the 90s and, hold on, bless you, Mrs. Meanie. Bless you again. Yeah. We're here in the apocalypse. Yeah, we're our allergies in the apocalypse here.
Yeah. Corona off of your arm there.
Yeah. But yeah, dude, we would have been custom made for 80s stuff.
It just I was thinking about it when you were talking about the night before about how he came out into a match you were involved in, and it just seemed like you never know down the line if there could have been some idea sparked of the blue blazer and the Blue Meanie together, just doing something, you as his sidekick, cause he was a superhero and all that, it kind of like writes itself. It's interesting that it never got there. Just how
I married myself to the Goldust character. Mm-hmm. I was floundering post Job Squad going, what am I going to do? Mm-hmm. They disbanded the Job Squad. I wasn't really tagging with Al anymore. And that's why I pitched BlueDust to Vince Russo.
Yeah.
And then I was wrestling Goldust as, BlueDust, but then we became allies and we were like custom made to be with each other, a couple misfits, Now you do me, Goldust, and Blue Blazer, dude. The skits we could have done, the things we could have done. You bring that up, and man, I get goosebumps at some of the stuff we could have done.
Yeah.
But he that day he was just like, Blue Meanie, we're gonna have to do something about that name, kid. And he just laughed. And the talk about what he was doing that night came up, because they were going to do the dry run of his entrance. Mm-hmm. I think that's why he had the jumpsuit on and all that stuff too.
Possibly for timing, or of going up the stairs, taking that off with the cape and all.
Exactly, that's the point. Me and you are on the same page with that. Yeah. But it just came up, and Bob's like, "How you feeling about this entrance?" And I was like, not really looking forward to it, but it is what it is, kind of thing, you know. And then something broke up the conversation. Somebody had to go do a pre-tape or something. Something happened, and then if the lineup sheet goes up, and I go over and I see it's me and Goldust against the Hardys, and I'm excited. Everybody goes, "Oh, well, you were on the pre-show." No, the same fans that were in the building for Over the Edge were in the building for Sunday Night Heat, so I was still on the show.
And also, you were I joked before, you were the main event.
Yeah.
But even if you don't look at it as the main event, you're kind of like the unofficial opener of the show. Like you're getting that crowd. You're the last thing they're seeing before they go live on pay-per-view. That's an important spot to get that crowd hot and ready to go,
Yeah. I mean, back, before, Sunday Night Heat, they used to do the WWE free-for-all. And the match that would main event the free-for-all was the match they wanted to entice people to lay down the money to buy the pay-per-view. Yeah. So here we are on Sunday Night Heat. It's me and Goldust versus the Hardys with Michael PSAs in their corner.
Yeah. Sunday Night Heat was if anyone who was around during that time, that was, you can call it the pre-show, but it was part of it. That was it. You sat down, you started watching wrestling. It didn't.
The ticket was the ticket. People, you weren't on the pay. Shut up. Yeah. But no, dude, that was awesome. I love the Hardys. I love Team of Goldust. I love wrestling with the Hardys. Me and the Hardys are around the same age. We're in the same stuff, same wrestling, same music, all big Pearl Jam marks. Me, the Hardys, Edge, and Christian, huge Pearl Jam marks. So downtime, we're just talking about stuff. Music will come up, and back in the day when CDs were a thing, and CD burners were this cool new toy. I would make my own mixtapes on CD, and I would make these Pearl Jam compilations and make my own artwork and print it out and put it on a CD. So there's one loop we're on. I knew that the Hardys, Edge, Christian were on it. I made us all these Pearl Jam compilations, and just something to do to break out the monotony of the road, and share something with people you got something in common with, pastime on the road. But this night we're it's me and Goldust versus the Hardys, and it was one of my favorite matches of my career. It was a great match. Not only for the fact that I base things on crowd reaction, and the crowd was there for the match. They were in for the stuff we did, and even though me and Goldust didn't win, we didn't look weak. I'm a firm believer you don't have to go over to get over. Sure. I lost the majority of my matches, but I did stuff in the match that made people want to invest their time in me. Either being a fan or somebody booking a show. I always did something to add to the show, I believe. And how can you not do that with Goldust as your partner wrestling the Hardys with Michael Hayes right there? So we had the match, and when you have a really good match, when you have a match you kind of get this runner's high. People talk about when you're running, you get this high where you just feel invincible and stuff like that. And we go through the curtain, and Gerald Briscoe was one of the first guys to come up. Hey, good match, guys, and felt so good.
That's a good feeling, yeah.
And Briscoe's been there since if it wasn't for Jerry Briscoe, there wouldn't be no WrestleMania. Basically, he sold his shares of Georgia to Vince. Vince sold Georgia back to the Crockett's, and he took that $1 million from the Crockett's and funded WrestleMania. So thank you, Jerry Briscoe. That's the Cliff Notes version of it.
Yeah, right.
But Jerry comes by, hey guys, great match. Thanks, Jerry. So everybody talks about, I want to be the main event, and I like watching the show, and if I'm later on in the show, I can't really enjoy the rest of the show because I'm pre-show jitters, anxiety, all that good stuff. So I'm on this high of being on Sunday Night Heat, having a fun match, and the rest of the night I get to just watch the pay-per-view and take it in and all that stuff. So I go get changed, and back then they had, there's different parts of it. Well, in the 90s, there's different parts of WWE backstage. You would have Richie from Magic, which is Mrs. Meanie's favorite. He would make the props and all that stuff. But there's also the WWE.com room where they did like a web series, like a live interactive web show. And they had a crew just for that, WWE.com, the web show. I think it was Bite This, it was called.
Yes.
And they would do the Bite This from there, and they had laptops set up. You could go into a room and chat with fans, stuff like that. And, do all the cool stuff. Me and Mrs. Me love the 90s, but
I'm a big 90s fan myself.
She said the fucking 90s.
I was gonna say not a huge 2020 fan. I'll tell you that.
No,
I'm a big 90s fan.
Nerds. But so there was the .com room, we called it for short. So it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna. People were watching from the monitors or different things. I was like, let me go into WWE. Let me go in the .com room and watch the pay-per-view. Now, and earlier before the show, I found out we're working the Hardys. As me, GoldDust, and the Hardys would go out in the ring and talk over a few things, and try to figure out what we want to do. And we had to clear the ring because Owen was practicing his entrance. So we all got out in the ring and did just practice lowering him down. I mean, he didn't have his cape or anything like that on, but he had, I guess, whatever harness. And they lowered him down, and everything. The pre-show test went well. And then,
where did he? Do you remember where he landed? We've all heard of where he landed in the fall. Where was his where was his intended?
It was just like right. It was kind of like off center, because I guess at the Kemper Arena they had that big jumbotron above the ring, so he had to kind of be on the side of that and come down. So it'd been like, in wrestling terms, off center, opposite the hard cam.
Like to the right, opposite.
Like it was, no, like you're watching the hard cam, you're looking at the TV. Wherever like the ring announcer would be, it would be like maybe 2 steps behind that.
Oh, I see, but still center, just not. I see what you mean.
Center-ish,
center to the hard cam, but not center
right.
wise. Yeah, okay.
And here's the real kicker, which a lot of people might not even know. He was supposed to have a lucha mini.
Max Mini, yeah.
Max Mini was going to make the entrance with him, or was supposed to. And at last second, it got nixed to where during the course of the match, Max Mini was going to run from the back and do like a run-in and stuff like that. So, I mean, Max Mini going through with the entrance, we've been talking about, a double tragedy here.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that, which kind of sends a chill, And so we had the match on Sunday Night Heat. I'm feeling the runner's high. I go to the .com room and watching the pay-per-view. And I think it's me in there. I think I'm sitting next to Dr. Tom to my left, and there's just like a thing of monitors, nothing huge, but like if you ever seen, the old school monitors back in the day when they throw the monitors before they destroy the table, something like that. People are like, oh, why do they throw the monitors? It was like, well, those things ricochet and they could hit you as well as your opponent. It's self-preservation when they throw those monitors. So for the next time you go, why do they remove the monitors? Right? No, it could hit you. There's a seesaw effect. So
yes.
So I'm watching the pay-per-view. Dr. Tom's to my left, and strike that from the record. I hadn't changed yet. The pay-per-view would happen. I'm still kind of half in my gear, and I was going to go get changed. I was like, you know what? I'm going to stay here and watch this match. It was Al Snow's match.
Yeah, hardcore match.
Hardcore match, and if you look at he had a shirt that was dedicated to Pierre the Deer. or something. Like he went from having pepper to
Yeah.
a mascot deer head,
Yes.
and then somebody destroyed it, and then he had a shirt done up, a Job Squad shirt on the back. It was dedicated to Pierre, the deer, which I went to my airbrush artist and had the shirt done up for him.
Oh, wow.
So I just wanted to see how it came off on TV. So I was like, oh, I'll
Mhm.
watch this and chuckle. Ha, 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 ha. Watch the match. Then I go up to finally change. And then I know they go up next, Blue Blazer, and they start running the B-roll. I was like, shit, I'll stay here for this too.
Mhm.
Because I knew, Owen's entrance. I knew the spot with the mini running in. I knew it was going to be a fun match. Godfather,
Mhm.
him and Godfather were going to have a great match with them and the mini and all that stuff.
Sure.
So we're watching the B-roll, and it was just everything you'd seen, where the lead up and the botches with his entrance and you make my blue blood boil and all this
Mhm.
stuff, and Owen, all the stuff that makes Owen, it makes you love him more. And then we're just sitting there, and that's when the news came through. Just JR, folks, there's been an accident, and just a warm sensation. Just like anytime you get bad news, that warm sensation that just washes over your body like a tidal wave, and you're like, "What?" So we're like, "Huh?" There's been and Owen Hart has fallen, and simultaneously, me, Dr. Tom, and whoever else was in the room with us just jump up, stand there, and like making sure we heard right. And then he goes into further detail and all this stuff, and we just dart for the door, and we run for the door, and it's just like in the back of my mind, I'm like, no, please, no, 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 please, no, 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 not Owen, please, no. And you make your way down the hall, and my face is red, and my whole body's warm. I'm just like in shock. My mouth's getting dry. I'm just like, and we're all heading towards the gorilla position. Just like, hopefully we get there and things are okay. And as we're going down the hall towards the gorilla position, Sergeant Slaughter, who's an agent, producer, whatever you want to call him, is coming back from the gorilla position. So imagine like somebody rushing into a battle, like in a war, you're rushing towards the front lines. He's not retreating, but he's coming back from the front lines, and he goes, "I think he's dead." And just those words from Sarge. If it was anybody else, I would have said, shut the fuck up. But it's Sarge, and you're just like, shit's real. Shit's real. And you get down to the fucking gorilla position, and I just, I just head right for the curtain. And you head to the curtain, and I guess the famous photo that came out of this, this was on the front pages of all the papers. It's just EMTs working on Owen. They got his mask off, and you're just stunned. You're looking through the curtain, and it's kind of like back step, and you just, if I could put it into words, the battle scene in Private Ryan when they're having the battle at the bridge and an explosive goes off way too close to Tom Hanks' character. He's like deaf, but he's looking around and he's just like staring at everything around him. But he's got that going through his brain, and he's still processing everything. I turn to my left, and there's Bruce and Vince at the gorilla behind the desk, And Vince is slumped in his chair, and he's got he's got his gear on. He's got the blank muscle shirt, and he's got a towel, and just staring down, just like blankly, like. And Bruce Pritchard's there, and his hands are in his head. Both hands firmly grasped on his head. And if I don't think his hands were there, his head would have been on the table. And you look further around, and there's Godfather, who was getting ready to go out. And then there's, Max Meanie right there with the blue blazer gear on and stuff like that. Just like, and then you look further around, and, there's, guys like openly weeping, there's Goldust over there, openly guys were just openly weeping, and just the hardest of guys, just openly weeping. And I believe somebody was actually at the curtain and saw when he fell, and I don't remember who, but just inconsolable, just is the word. And go back to the curtain, and the sad part of it, this is an incredibly sad situation, but at first fans thought it was part of the show. They thought maybe it was a mannequin. You drop a mannequin, and then maybe slide it out, and Owen rolls in or whatever. Some people thought it was like a test dummy. Then you drop them, the lights go out, and then Owen pop.
Sure.
But I don't think it was until the fans actually saw them pull the mask off and saw it was Owen that it hit the crowd that it's Owen, and people start chanting for Owen. And you're just watching the EMTs frantically work on it. Jerry Lawler was like one of the first guys to hit the ring. Apparently, from where it is, he was going to go down. He was in position about to. I don't know if this is 100% facts. Don't fact check me, and I'm not even making light of it. But the word is he was over the rail, about to descend, and apparently he went to adjust his cape or something, and it just hit. Again, I'm not 100% on this, but that's the word that went around, that it had to hit the release. And in the ring at the time was referee Jimmy Corderas, and he was in the corner, and like they said in the Dark Side of the Ring documentary, Owen's plunging to his death, and his last words were screaming, "Get out of the way, move," because he knew Jimmy was there. And he hit the ring post, the part that connects the buckle to the post. Apparently helicoptered into the ring, and did one of those the thing you see in a horror movie where you just like sit up and it's kind of like clump over it. But Lawler was like the first person to hit the ring, and Lawler knew, I guess, before anybody, how bad it was and stuff like that. So I'm still back through the curtain, and we're all praying to whatever God we believe in, and just hoping for a good outcome. Nobody, like I said, Lawler was probably the first and only guy to know how bad it was, but we're all saying, please, everybody's praying for him to make it through. And we're standing there, and then they put Owen on the gurney, and as Owen's coming down on the gurney, there's the guy with the suction cup with the pumping oxygen to him. There's a guy feverishly, straddling Owen, doing the trying to pump his heart to, keep it going. Mm-hmm. And that guy was going to town trying to, keep Owen alive. But everybody watched him go. We all watched him load in the ambulance. We all went over, like, the football players doing tap on the ambulance. Owen, we're room for you, stuff like that. And off they took Owen. And all we could do is sit there and pray and wait.
Did you see him when you said you saw him loaded in? Did you get a chance to
Yeah.
see him? D'Lo
Yeah.
Brown had said in the documentary, not to get too,
Right.
but he had said he looked blue when he came back.
Yeah.
Is that your recollection of it?
Yeah.
At that moment, did you kind of, you say everyone was praying for it and Jerry Lawler was the first to kind of know. Do you think the locker room in general, seeing him come by to the ambulance, was that kind of the wind, whatever wind was left in the sails, so to speak, was out, seeing him like that, or was there still hope?
I think everybody didn't want to count Owen out. Like I said, Sarge said, I think he's dead. And then, Lawler was there, and Lawler said he just watched the color leave his face, and he knew. But you don't want to count somebody out, and it was bad. Trust me, it was bad. And watching how feverishly the EMTs, those guys were the heroes. They were doing whatever it took, and it was a rough watch. And everything D'Lo said, spot on. It was bad. It was bad. But again, you love a guy, you believe in the guy, and what you call it being naive or whatever, where I was just like, man, you got to pull through. You got to pull through. And like I said, whatever you believed in, you were talking to that faith right there. And it was just became a wait and see, except for, there's two people who definitely thought he was gone. But, we just stood there and just wept, and people could hold each other. And then the task of, does the show go on? People go, oh, and
can you shine a light on what anything you saw of what a decision? Because obviously the aside from what led to the tragedy itself,
right,
that has been the most debated aspect of this entire thing, was the show going on. So were you privy to, were you able to see any discussions, anyone kind of like, you kind of painted a picture for us of what Bruce Pritchard and Vince McMahon, I mean, obviously and I'm not trying,
right. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah. What I'm curious about was what was the feeling back at that point? From us watching at home, there's this feeling of, we're so confused, we don't know what's going on. Then the next thing you know, we're going to a video package for, I want to say it was Jeff Jarrett's match. Yeah. And then we're going to Jeff Jarrett doing a promo and saying that he's praying for Owen, and then head into the ring. Obviously, someone was instructed to roll the footage on the package. Someone was instructed to, hey, did you see any of, were you around for any of someone being told, Jeff Jarrett, whoever was in the match?
I think everybody was just on autopilot. Everybody was on autopilot. And then also praying, like I said, all but two were, two people thought he was dead. The rest of us were hoping he was still alive. So I bet now, like with everything that's come out and stuff like that, somebody was like, well, how come, it's an active crime scene, basically. Why didn't the police intervene as well? Right. But like I've told that story where XPW and ECW were brawling in the streets, and the cops thought it was part of the show. Mm. You know what I'm saying? A lot of the fans in the crowd thought it was part of the show until they took Owen's mask off. Yeah. So, and I bet then you also hear stories about like when they do the angle with, Eddie Gilbert running over Jerry Lawler in the parking lot of the WMC5 TV studios, and fans, calling the police. I'm surprised nobody called the cops to come to the building. Nobody really. It was just like, and again, I was in that fog, where I described that scene from, Saving Private Ryan, where, Tom Hanks is just like, ooh, and he's just watching everything around him and just shell shocked.
When you're watching football and somebody takes a bad hit.
Yeah.
I've never thought, oh, okay, we need to get the police out here. There have been people who've during a game been paralyzed, Right. I've never thought, okay, we need to get the police out to see what's going on. I can understand, and I'm not making an apology for anyone one way or the other, but I can understand the lack of thought of, hey, this is a crime scene. This is something that, police need to come here and investigate. Right. I think the first thing I'm sure on everyone's mind was, oh my God, he fell. And then we're no longer focused on what had happened. We're more focused on what can we do to hopefully save him. What is his condition? So I understand, the hindsight. It's so easy 21 years later for everybody to sit there and go, well, they should have done this. That one should have done that. That one should have done that. But in the moment, and especially what we've always imagined as fans and the picture that you're painting, which I know is not easy to do. And I'm hoping that people listening to this, that, even for me, it's another little bit, just like Dark Side of the Ring, another little bit of closure on a traumatic thing for all of us, just as fans, even to hear this. So I appreciate you talking about it.
Well, for example, after 9/11, I filmed the Nikki Cox show like a couple days after. Like, airports were shut down, everything shut down. I was in California, and my buddy Ron Rivera was booking the Nikki Cox show. Hey, you're in town. You want to do a guest spot? So we're filming, this little side road, but I promise I'll get back to it. So I go, everything's locked down. We filmed at Warner Brothers lot. That was locked down, everything. But in between shooting, it's me and a bunch of the boys standing around. And you know how the boys are. Mm-hmm. They're like, 9/11. And you can imagine if a bunch of the boys were on that plane, we would have beat their ass. And I'm like, yeah, no, you wouldn't have. No. So like, just everybody thinks what should have happened after the fact. Everybody has their fan fiction and stuff like that. But now, 21 years later, we know a lot of what we didn't know. In that, we're talking about a span of a couple minutes to an hour of we were in limbo, not knowing if Owen was still alive.
So you had mentioned,
I'm not excusing anything. I'm not excusing. If they would have stopped the show, I'd be like, awesome. Okay, let's stop the show. Let's see what happened. But the WWE is such a machine. People are probably just on autopilot, hitting buttons and doing this, and it's just.
You said that had they stopped it, you would have obviously said awesome.
Yes. Stop this.
You believe it should have? And again, that this is hindsight. This is not. Right. I'm sure you weren't. Backstage there going, stop the show. Stop. Who's thinking about that right now? You're thinking about a human being's life.
I'm praying for Owen.
Right. Do you think in hindsight?
I'm not religious, but I was praying that night.
Do you think in hindsight that they should have stopped the show?
But cooler heads prevailed. Yeah, they probably. Yeah. Who would have faulted them for stopping the show? Right.
So the question then becomes, can you fault them for continuing the show? Which I don't know that I don't think there's a yes or a no. I think it depends on who you're talking about, depends on the situation.
Seeing everything I saw in that gorilla position area, looking at Vince, looking at Bruce, looking at everybody around me. Everybody, it was just like your hands are up in the air going, oh my God, what just happened? What just fucking happened? And, the lack of not knowing, that, like I said, these people were, trying to resuscitate him, all that good stuff. Well, not all that good stuff, but I mean, people are trying to resuscitate him. And there's that glimmer of hope that maybe he kicks out the 2 and comes back to life. And
Now,
but like I said, the only people who privy to that, Lawler knew for sure. In hindsight, we know, and interviews after everything that was said, he knew. But
now
everybody in the back was,
roughly 45 minutes later or so is when everybody at home found out. And one of the things in the Dark Side of the Ring that has had the internet kind of up in arms was that revelation of Kevin Dunn telling Jim Ross, you have to give an update, him saying, I don't know the update, him saying he's dead, and you're back in 10, 9, 8.
Right.
And
that's something I didn't know until I watched Dark Side of the Ring. That's one of the other things I learned. So with knowing that nugget of knowledge now.
So first of all, that really just what Jim Ross had to have gone through there to be the one who has to tell people, to be the one who, if you've ever had to break news of some bad news to somebody, now imagine you're breaking bad news to millions of people about some news that you just found out literally 10 seconds earlier about somebody that is a friend, a loved one to you. And now you have to go figure out how to eloquently present this news to people. I can't even imagine what Jim Ross must have been going through. My question to you, I guess, is in your opinion, the way that you see that, could that have been do you think you're talking about everybody's kind of on autopilot? Do you think it's everybody likes to, Vince McMahon's the devil. Kevin Dunn is the devil's sidekick. Everybody likes to do that.
He's in the sidecar with the devil.
Yeah. But I guess what I'm trying to ask is, well, first of all, how did you find out? Did you find out from Jim Ross?
No, I've had somebody in the back. I'd gotten word back from the.
Was that prior to?
I don't know. I wasn't watching the feed. I didn't watch the rest of the show. I just anything I remember from the show is stuff I watched. Is there years later?
Is there any way? Because I've tried to, I try to look at things from both sides of the aisle. Is there any way that Kevin Dunn could have? Obviously, he thought Jim Ross knew, because he's saying, hey, you need to give the update.
Right.
He's not saying, hey, you need to give an update with the assumption that he's not, because Jim Ross had to tell him that he didn't know.
Right.
I mean, obviously they're coming back in 10. I guess what I'm saying is, I guess maybe this is just me being naive. I want to believe that it was not as callous and heartless as.
Right. I don't want to believe it seemed. I don't want it to be that callous and cold as well. And when I saw JR talking about, finding out and then you're on in 10, it was like the wrestling equivalent of Walter Cronkite having to go on national TV and tell people, ladies and gentlemen, the president is dead.
Yeah.
Just, and you see Walter Cronkite, just a news reporter, just break down on TV and peel his glasses off and, show emotion. I mean, I know it's wrestling, but I mean, that was like the wrestling equivalency of Walter Cronkite informing the rest of the world that, the president dead, and JR was telling the world that Owen had passed. And I do not envy Jim Ross having to do that in the slightest, because there's parts where I'm talking to you, I'm trying to keep it cool,
Do you think at that point, that it should, when the news came back to, Vince McMahon, that it should have just been like, we need to make an announcement to the crowd. We need to shut this down. This is finish the match that's in the ring. Hey, we kept going because, we're all hoping deep down that we're going to find out this is a bad injury, but Owen's okay. Show's going on. We find out that he unfortunately has passed away. maybe that was the time to say, we have to stop this. Or is that just easy for me to say 21 years later?
We have the comfort of a 21-year buffer, but in that moment of time, I always say there's no playbook for it. Bruiser Brody was murdered, and they still went on with the show. And still not right.
Right.
Still not right. But shit. It's there's no rule book, and like I said, I'm not making excuses. They would have said, we're gonna wrap this shit up. Everybody go home. Keep your tickets for a later date. They'll be honored at a later date. I don't think anybody would have rioted or argued over. I would pray that they wouldn't have rioted or argued over announcing we're stopping a show to this. But again, you bring up the NFL analogy where they cart people off the field, and then 10 seconds later, somebody scores a touchdown, and people are cheering again. It's bizarre. It's truly a bizarre situation to be in. It's still affected me now. Just talking about it now. I've written about it, but talking about it is rough. We get the news that he had passed, and when I go to TVs, I usually turn my phone off. Back then, you'd turn your phone off. I had the flip phone and stuff like that, and we go to leave the building. Find out Owen's passed, and I know I was riding with Al, but I don't know who else was. I don't think there was anybody else riding with us.
How soon did you leave after?
I have no true time frame of how soon I left. I really don't. We might have left before the end of the show too, just to get the fuck out. We get away from that feeling as soon as. Not like we're going to feel better leaving, but the air in that building in that locker room was so thick of just dread and holy shit, man, I can't believe this happened. And Owen, I found out when, when Balls Mahoney died, that fucking hit me, right? But like me and Mrs. Meanie, would sit there and go, fucking Balls Mahoney's dead. It didn't compute. It didn't compute. It didn't make sense. It didn't compute. And, even with Owen dying and me being there and watching them take him to the ambulance, it didn't compute. It didn't compute. Hopefully, you go to bed and wake up and it's all a dream and you're going to the building for the first time that day, and, everything will be all right. It just, we had to get the fuck out of there. And when the show wasn't over and we're leaving the Kemper Arena and satellite trucks are lining the outside of the building, like full blown, like TV news trucks with dishes on the roof. And you're like, holy shit. Just like, wow. And, we decided to go on. I want to say the next night we're in Moline, or I forgot where we were the next night, but then we get to the TV the next night, and then they said they were going to charter us a flight to the last day of the loop, because it was I guess it was Sunday Night Heat, Over the Edge. Next night was Raw, and then the next night was either another Raw, or I don't know if SmackDown was around.
SmackDown hadn't started yet, I don't believe. So
right, because SmackDown debuted at the Kemper Arena, which brought back like another batch of memories. When you go back to the scene of where it all happened.
What was your? Before we move on from the night, I'm just curious your opinion of the fact that we talked about Jim Ross having to come out and tell everybody.
Yeah,
he told millions of people at home. The fans in the arena were never told. They were never given an update.
No. And this wasn't in the day of smartphones.
Well, that's one of the things that made me think of it was when you mentioned your flip phone. This wasn't, I mean, God, now Twitter would have blown up. Everybody would have known, and in a lot of ways, I think, thank God there weren't smartphones to be able to be taking pictures and doing,
The only thing I could think of is, if somebody had a family member at home who's at the show and then they call and tell them,
right.
But
do you think that, again, this goes back to that thought of maybe we should stop the show? Do you think, how can I put this? Do you think that the decision not to tell the live audience was in order to be able to continue the show?
I don't know.
Because if
that's above my pay grade.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's 1,000,000% conjecture on my part, but the thought process is you can't tell the audience he's passed away. And up next, Stone Cold Steve Austin faces The Undertaker. Hope you guys are hot for this. The crowd already was down from this, just from being so shaken from what they had seen. But, that's one of the things that kind of plays back into the fact that this was a conscious decision. At the same time, it could have been a conscious decision. Let them enjoy the show. They're here. They're young kids here. I mean, let's just try our best to send them home happy, and we'll move forward. So again, I can be an apologist for both sides very easily.
Right.
I want to believe that every decision that was made with the best of intent.
Right.
Whether that's the case or not. So you were saying they chartered.
Well, to get back to that night, we leave, we're driving on to the next town, and my phone had been turned off, and just well, I don't even know why I turned it back on, but I distinctly remember turning on my phone, and I, missed calls or whatever. I go check my voicemail, and that night and then the next morning, I got frantic calls and messages from people, friends and family, because when the news broke, pro wrestler dies, the blue ... My members of my family and my friends thought it was me. My friend Joey, like I said, Joe from the Swamp Candles, was listening to KYW News Radio the next morning, going his way to work. Doot, 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 doot. Pro wrestler dies in the ring, the blue, and he said he almost drove off the road. Just Blue Meanie, Blue Blazer, and I just found out, like, I learned who my friends were, and realized how truly loved I was by my family. Just and I heartbroken at the thought that they had to, for any smidge of time, because back then it wasn't immediate. My phone was off. Leave a voicemail, call back. Oh no, I'm okay. But then the next morning, some family members, like I said, like my buddy Joey, my friends and family are getting up the next day, go to work. Pro wrestler dies in the ring, the blue, and they didn't even stop to listen to hear whether it was the Blazer or the Meanie. They just freaked the fuck out, and that's to be there and see such a tragic loss of life, and then have to experience you imagine what his family was going through, and we learned that through Dark Side of the Ring. But I learned basically, God forbid something happened to me, like who were the first people to reach out.
Yeah.
Mom, grandma, aunts, uncles, cousins, and my friends just call my phone. You okay? And It's a shit situation, but it gives you a new appreciation for life. I've written about this, and it's hard. I've written about it. It's the first time I talked about it, but in the past when I've written about it, I wrote one blog that I share once a year. That's my annual post of that night, and years later, Foo Fighters came out with a song called "Times Like These, You Learn to Live Again," and times like these, you learn to love again. And it was a moment like that I learned a lot, that because you get, sometimes, growing up, I had my issues with, your depression and all that stuff from being the fat asthmatic kid who couldn't do anything to getting picked on by bullies my whole life, getting the shit beat out of me, getting made fun of. You're fat, you stink, you're this, you're that. You hear that your whole fucking life. And, there's times in your life when you grow up and you just say, fuck, I want to check out. I've had it. I'm done. I'm good. See ya. And then there's moments where somebody does an act of kindness that yanks you back into the boat. And it was a moment like that where, I had issues, dealing with the road and shit like that. And other documented stuff that, everybody knows about that, had me down and depressed and kind of wanted to check out. And then I found out how true, it took a fucking horrible situation like Owen to make me find some reassurance and to find out that, people care about me and love me. And they're saying about me, it's about Owen, but it took something like this to make me go, all right, I want to stick around. I'm not going to throw in a towel. I'm not going to tap out, So, I mean, this whole thing was tragic, but it took something horrible to realize, there's a silver lining to a shitty fucking situation. It was that, I knew who, I'm rambling, but yeah.
No, look, I as I had said before, and I think I speak for everyone who's listening to this to, thank you for sharing it, because it is, I hope for you, I hope
it's weird to say out loud.
Yeah. But I hope that it's cathartic for you to be able to say this stuff out loud. And then, for me and any other fan, you always want to know more, and it's, and not in a salacious way, but you always want to know more to just understand it. Right. Almost as though you're chasing after this knowledge that's going to make it all okay. That unfortunately is never going to come. But, so thank you for sharing that. I hope any questions I had, any prying on it. No. I mean, I hope that it's just something that could, help someone listening to this. And what you just said there before is something that, I don't think we signed up for the mind of the meanie to try and save people, but you never know somebody who's listening to something who hears something as important as what you said, to remember that at times when people are lost.
Yeah. I mean, sadly, a lot of people don't get to know how much they're loved and cared till they're gone. Yeah. And, so thankfully I'm still here. I'm happy. My life's great right now. So don't be mistaken with that. I love life. I love my friends. I got a small circle of friends. You included, you're in there. Small circle of friends, family who know me, who I choose, to share life with and stuff like that. My life's good, but I mean, I've been through the shit too, and if there's anybody out there who's ever been through the shit, just hang in there, chill out, just take a breath. But, like I said, I mean, I don't know how to put a bow on this, or there's
maybe
there's an outro. Where
yeah, maybe the way that we, and I feel like this was mentioned multiple
hopefully
times.
the
No
fans are still
transition.
with us.
Yeah, I think they
Hopefully
are.
the
This
fans are
is,
still there.
it was really eye-opening to see it from all these different, and that's why I asked some of the questions that I did, because I just wanted
Of
to
course.
try and understand it. I think that when a tragedy like that happens, understanding is the first step to really being able to kind of heal from it. And I think, the guys from Dark Side of the Ring, even talked about one of the reasons that they did this was just how monumental this moment was for them, something they always remembered. And so hopefully that this, hearing all of this is some form of catharsis for our listeners. And but I think
I definitely feel like I'm on Dr. Katz's.
I think the way that we can put a bow on this topic is, I've always been a firm believer when you're looking back on somebody who's died, whether it's a family member or a friend or something, unfortunately, as tragic as something like this. The reality of Owen Hart and any of those other people we talked about, they lived every single day. They only died one day. They shouldn't be remembered for the one day. Not that it should ever be forgotten or ever, in that regard.
Right.
But Owen Hart, I hate the fact that his legacy is so tied into his death, because this is somebody that I know that brought so much joy to so many people, myself included, so much entertainment. And this is somebody that was, to his family, was someone so special. So I think the way that we should put a bow on this is how you remember, all of the end aside, how you remember Owen Hart.
I'll remember Owen as a family man, first and foremost. He was on national TV, and he could have had every luxury that came with being a television star. He could have been in the finest hotels, driven fancy cars or fancy rental cars and all that stuff. But he sacrificed so much on the road to have something to hand back to his family. And he, he's notorious for packing like the world's smallest gear bag, because he knew when he got home, he wanted to get off that plane, get out the fucking front door, and be greeted by his wife and go home and be with his family, because that's what he cherished the most. And like I said, I have friends, Dr. Roma Scavage in northeastern Pennsylvania. Him and his family would, have him at the ranch, and he would stay there. I got friends in Pittsburgh, that, hey, we, would drive Owen to all the shows and put Owen up for the night. And Owen did that, to give back to his family, because, he had a lot of wrestlers get in this business, but they don't have an exit plan. Mm-hmm. They don't have that fucking light at the end of the tunnel where they go, okay, I'm going to do this, retire, and then do this. He had a vision, and wrestling wasn't. Between whether it was going to retire, become a firefighter, or something cool. I didn't even learn that he liked to build bikes, and he wanted always dreamed of opening a little bike shop and stuff like that. But what his legacy could have been. But we're talking about how I'm going to remember Owen. I'm going to remember him. I'm going to remember the Owen Hart smile. He had the $1 million smile, the $1 million laugh, and even once he got out of the ring, he easily could have come back and been a color commentator. Mm-hmm. There's a show where he did play-by-play. It was a show from South Africa. WWE did. He easily could have been the next Bobby the Brain Heenan on the mic. Calling matches and stuff like that, because he was just so on the ball, quick-witted, and all that good stuff. That hey. The world was his oyster. He could have done anything he wanted in the ring, and he could have done anything post-career. And, I'll forever remember him for the kindness he showed me. even though he was wrestling royalty and didn't have to be as nice as he was to me. There's times when like I said, I was stranded. I didn't know what I was going to do. And he said, "Hey, Meanie, come with me." Just because of the kindness of who he was. And I'm grateful now that, 2020, I'm friends with a lot of the Hart family, the nieces, nephews, in-laws, and all that stuff. And, I'm grateful to have their friendship, and they're beautiful people inside and out. And the Hart family should be celebrated as one of the wrestling royalty, and we're one of the great wrestling families.
You can go to prowrestlingtees.com and get, we mentioned earlier, the first in 20 plus years, the first officially licensed Owen Hart merchandise, t-shirts from Dark Side of the Ring, from the family. We talked about those before, with the proceeds going to the Owen Hart Foundation.
And don't sleep on it, because it's a limited edition. So get it while you can. The Hart family are doing stuff along with Dark Side of the Ring. So you'll get this awesome, beautiful shirt with Owen Hart's likeness on it. And all the proceeds go to the Owen Hart Foundation, where, you can help, keep Owen's name, keep the torch of Owen's name alive, where the foundation will do wonderful things for other human beings, because Owen Hart was always doing things for other human beings. So that's, if you're going to do one thing this weekend, buy that Owen Hart shirt and help his legacy carry on.
So one of the things that we had wanted to talk about on this show, and like we've said, I feel this is the 15th time I've said this, there are no good transitions from something so serious to something wacky and fun,
This is like the Casey Kasem clip where he goes, "How can I do a death dedication after a poppy song?" Or something?
Right.
Go on. He has the meltdown. There's like this cheery song. He comes in and does a dedication for a dog that died, or I don't know.
So but one thing I think that we can,
how do you go from being talking about such a serious topic to lighten the mood?
Yeah, it's I can tell you it's not easy. So we're just gonna do it. We're just gonna do it.
Theater of mind, just play along.
Yeah. Folks. So but one of the things that we did want to talk about, talking about some legendary wrestlers, yourself included. I want to talk about Retromania, the video game that is available for pre-order right now. Featuring, if you've seen the Blue Meanie at any conventions back when we were allowed to have those, a lot of times he had either flyers, or this is how I first found out about this game. You had the T-shirt for Retromania. Tell us a little bit about what Retromania is and your involvement in it.
Retromania is Retromania wrestling video game is something I've been longing for, and oh my god, especially I wish it was out now in these times. But Retromania wrestling is it's retro. It's a throwback to the old 2D arcade video games, and just recently they became certified officially the official sequel to the old WrestleFest wrestling arcade
which
game.
Is so cool, because for a long time they were billing themselves as the unofficial successor to it.
Right.
But
right.
But it speaks to the quality of this game, the fact that they're now officially being considered, you're the successor, you're the sequel to one of, if you grew up around that time when WrestleFest came out, oh man, what an awesome game. I spent many a day at challenges in the Willow Grove Mall playing that game.
Well, for me in Atlantic City, it was Spaceport, which the old school 80s arcade game, or
neither of those places are there anymore. But
no, don't like Rob Reiner says in Spinal Tap. Don't look for it; it's no longer there.
With challenges though, I one cool thing is the TV show The Goldbergs.
Yes.
So that takes place in the 80s. It's supposed to take place in Jenkintown, which is about 15 minutes from where I grew up. It's where my grandparents lived. And he would always go, the character in the Goldbergs goes to the Willow Grove Mall. And he has gone to challenges. And I'm one of the only people in the world sitting there going, well, that's not exactly how challenges look. Their layout went this, but it's just so cool to see that in the game. And they'll reference, they're like, oh yeah, they took him to he's at the Abington Memorial Hospital. I'm like, that's the hospital I went to every time I broke something. So, it's exciting, but back to the game.
Yeah, man. Dude, I'm so excited. And I'm so honored to be a part of it. Mike Herman over there at Retrosoft Studios is doing a fantastic job. Him and his crew are working around the clock. They're working out the kinks. It's supposed to have a July 1st release. And I've gotten to play, the demo version, and even the demo version is so much fun. And recently we got to go to PAX East in Boston. And we had a stand set up where, Xavier Woods came over and played it and fell in love with it. And all these watching Mega Ran, the rapper, come over and play it and have fun. Me and Mega Ran are tied 1-1 in our series of matches in Retromania wrestling that we need to have that rubber match, that rematch.
Up, yeah.
Yeah. Need to do we need somebody to get to do a show poster for it. And all the stuff when the social, distance, ban lifts, or if it ever does, we'll get together and have that rematch. Blue Meanie versus Mega Man in the battle of the wrestling video game enthusiasts, the rapper versus the wrestler. Awesome. But dude, at that convention in Boston, it was so much fun, especially with kids. Mm-hmm. Kids loved it, and they always do those videos where they show a video of a kid playing a retro game, and they're just like, can't figure out. This game is going to be so easy to play. Mm-hmm. So it's a good old fashioned button masher.
Yeah.
That's
what you want. Anytime the games got too complicated for me, I had to check out, because I just, I can't. I mean, the graphics got better and better and better looking. And give me old school, WrestleFest. That's what I'm looking for. That's mash those buttons and hope for the best.
I need a good old case of Nintendo thumb.
Yeah.
But Retromania, the roster is stacked. BWO's in it, Tommy Dreamer's in it, Austin Idol. Can we call him Zack Ryder anymore?
No, it's Matt Cardona, always ready. Matt Cardona and Brian Myers, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins. They were the most recent to announced to be a part of it, and they, man, like a glove that fits perfect with them, with their brand.
That is the chocolate and the peanut butter just going perfect together. I love those guys anyway, but to have them in this game is going to be awesome.
And then you have the Road Warriors in there.
Yep. Johnny, he's Johnny Nitro in the game, but
he's Johnny Retro in the game.
Johnny Retro. Look, don't the guy's had 8 million names.
Yeah.
Johnny Impact, Johnny Nitro, now he's Johnny Retro.
Yeah, name it in order of all of his names. We're
good.
Yeah.
But no, seriously, so many cool sets.
Yes.
Pro Wrestling Tees just signed on. They're going to have their warehouse in the game, which looks fantastic. They got the Pro Wrestling Tees warehouse. They got the NWA Power set, which, dude, that's probably going to be my go-to.
It looks so good.
We got the Tommy Dreamer's House of Hardcore, which is in there. And that arena is basically the ECW arena. Just don't tell anybody. Even though I just said it to everybody. Then they got the Hammerstein Ballroom, which isn't called the Hammerstein Ballroom.
It's just it's the retro ballroom,
Yeah. Dude, there's so many cool sets. Yeah, so many cool sets. So many cool wrestlers, looks. I hope they were working on my idea of having the BWO come through the crowd for their entrance, but we'll see.
Be cool. That'd be very cool.
That would be awesome. Dude, it's available for pre-order right now. So it's going to be whatever you play. Xbox, Nintendo Switch, PS4, wherever you Steam, you can find Retromania Pro Wrestling, and you can pre-order it now. I think it's pre-order for Steam or Nintendo Switch right now. Fact check me on that, please. But wherever you do, get on there, pre-order it. And I've talked to Mike Herman, the creator of Retromania, and he said, depending on the success of the launch, that will enable them to do download content to where they could get more wrestlers in the game, and hopefully you could download wrestler wrestler A or wrestler. If you think of your favorite wrestler, if you go and pre-order this now, we have a really good launch. They can go and recruit more wrestlers.
And I've heard
to be a part of this game.
I've heard even the conversation about having like a downloadable create a wrestler type opportunity. Yeah. So you put yourself in the game.
Exactly.
And speaking of putting yourself in the game,
drum roll.
I am super excited that I am in some way, shape, or form going to be involved in the Retromania game. I'm very excited about it. What my involvement will be coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll be able to let you know. But this game, go and pre-order this game now. Wherever you get your games from. This is it's gonna be. I know there's the PC version, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, PlayStation. Just go order it now. It's gonna be worth every penny.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it definitely. If you're an old school wrestling fan like myself, and spent many times in your 80s not having a social life, and you sat in your room and played these video games in the comfort of your own bedroom and fantasy booked and all this good stuff, you can have Tommy Dreamer riders and, with Zack Ryder and Brian Myers and against the BWO or, something like that. So there's so many different versions of matches you can have. It's going to be awesome. And like I said, let's make this launch awesome. That way they can get more content for this game.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to playing the Blue Meanie. I'm taking them right to the top.
Yeah, somebody has
to. Booking them strong, just like my son has been doing with your micro brawler.
Dude, I heard I beat the Undertaker.
Beat the Undertaker, Kane, and Hulk Hogan. Threw them all over. It was a battle royal. Just tossed them all over the top, out of the top rope. And you were almost crowned United States champion, but my 3-year-old son decided that since the belt came with Shinsuke Nakamura, it needs to stay on Shinsuke Nakamura. So I'm sorry. I'm trying. But that's it.
Well, he's got his virtues, and he's set in his ways. So
he is such a big Kane fan, which is now shifting over to the Blue Meanie. But he will. So he wanted to see. I gave him like an old action figure, and it was a Kane action figure. I was like, I think he'll like this because he didn't really know what wrestling was, but I think like looks like a superhero, super villain, whatever. And he just got so excited about it that he wanted to see like the real Kane. So I showed him Kane's debut because I was like, I don't know if I'm quite ready to show him like any real like matches, because he likes to attack his sister and so I was like, all right, we're gonna ease into this. So I show him that, and I swear to God, this 3-year-old kid runs around with the action figure, mimicking Vince McMahon, going, "It's gotta be Kane. That's gotta be Kane." And that's from adorable. His debut. So, and he asked me last night if he could tombstone me, and so I said no. But told him, I said my neck's a little sore. But yeah, so. Good parenting, I guess.
Good parenting in the apocalypse.
Yep. But hey, let's talk about some of our merchandise. What do you think?
Yeah, let's wrap this shit show.
Yeah, we got a show. We got a sale going on. As you're hearing this, you've got a few hours left. Promo code,
because we are so punctual.
Yeah, right.
With our release date.
Hey, we've never released our podcast late. We release it early sometimes. Sometimes as a birthday present. Sometimes because I apparently hit the wrong button. So you never know. You could get this in some time in the next 12 hours after we record it, or you'll get it Monday at 6 a.m. But maybe we'll do this one Monday at midnight. so that it gives 6 extra hours for people to use the promo code Memorial. Is that what the promo code is?
Don't put a question mark in there. It's Memorial.
Promo code Memorial. Promo code. I thought it was. I'm so used to saying promo code Meanie. But that one's come and gone. This is promo code Memorial, and you can go to prowrestlingtees.com/mind of the meanie for all of our great shirts. We've got the Mind of the Meanie logo tee, the Pod Squad t-shirt. We've got Baby in a Beanbag chair. We've got Meanie Burger, which I was wearing yesterday. And we've got what else do we have? We have
Take a sip to the apocalypse.
Take a sip for the apocalypse. We've got concert canceled.
Which go back a few episodes and
episode
learn
6. Yeah. I know it's episode 6 because I've had a lot of people go, "What's that referencing?" And I go, "Listen to episode 6 of our show." But some great shirts there. We're always coming up with something new and crazy to put on there. Use that promo code Memorial and save yourself some money. Also, make sure to go to prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. Meanie, tell us a little bit about what we can find there.
Well, over at prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie, you got the infamous BWO shirt, the shirt that I am proudly says you can still see on TV when we were allowed to go to wrestling shows. You used to be able to see it on Raw and SmackDown and all the great pay-per-views and stuff like that. And also, besides the BWO shirt, we have the Blue Meanie Micro Baller, which dude has been like really one of the top sellers here in the apocalypse. A lot of people getting those for those kids and stuff like that. And we also have the BWO guitar pick, which I was inspired to do because I'm a big rock and roll nerd and stuff like that, and I love collecting guitar picks. I was like, hey, and I gave Joshy Poo a couple over there.
I was just holding it up to him. I've got my BWO guitar pick, and now if I can find any time to play guitar, maybe this I can now tell my wife, I have to sit down and play guitar because he gave me this pick. I have to use it.
It's for the show.
Yeah,
it's for the show.
I have to for the show. There you go. It's sitting in the case right next. My guitar is sitting in its case right next to me, taunting me.
But those are like the real deal guitar picks. I got them done.
Oh yeah, no, these aren't cheap. These are good. These are real good.
Yeah, so get one of those. Joey from the Swamp Candles just did a video, and he held up the BWO guitar pick to the on his YouTube page, which is pretty cool. But there's so much good stuff at prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. My favorite right now is the traditional tattoo shirt done by my boy Fred Lancello, aka Fredward from Street Road Tattoos in Ben Salem, and he might be working on another design. I'm Ron Burgundy but this time specifically for Mind of the Meanie, and I'll leave it at that. I don't want to tease anything too hard.
But you don't want to tease as well as I teased.
Yeah, you basically said it. Jesus Christ, man!
All right, we're gonna after we're done with our merch, I'm gonna go back and do a better tease.
Yeah, well, there you go. But prowrestlingtees.com/Blue Meanie. Get all your Meanie merch. And thank you for everybody who bought shirts on the my Pro Wrestling Tees Blue Meanie birthday sale. It was like well, not like we would have got it off in time for this show anyway, because we're very punctual. But Ryan from Pro Wrestling Tees was cool with doing a birthday sale, and it was phenomenal. I'm overwhelmed and grateful for everybody. I know money is tight right now, and both myself and Josh appreciate everybody supporting both our Pro Wrestling Tees stores. So every dollar counts, and for the fact that anybody's reaching out and spending money on us is awesome. So thank you very much.
And I've actually even been trying to get my prowrestlingtees.com/so says Shernoff up and running with some new shirts. We're waiting for those to be uploaded. So, hey, maybe they'll be there by the time. But if you can't wait, if you just can't wait for these shirts, we do have some similar shirts available over at SoSaysShernoff.com. And finally, we got to talk about Collar and Elbow. We mentioned at the beginning of this show, which feels like a very long time ago. We mentioned Collar and Elbow, and Collar and Elbow.
I'm I'm 48 years old right now. I just had my 47th birthday. I just had a birthday while we were
but Collar and Elbow, aside from, they're obviously doing for Shad Gaspard's family that great shirt with 100% of the proceeds going to his family. So definitely check that out. But again, there are other shirts at Collar and Elbow, the wrestling brand. So many good shirts there. And you can use the promo code Meanie to save 10%. So we really suggest that you go do that. Some real good ones. I was browsing yesterday, browsing their site. Going to pick up some of those Collar and Elbow shirts myself.
I think Mrs. Meanie wants to do a run in here.
Run.
They just dropped a design for Shad on Pro Wrestling.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Was a really informative run in there. Thank you, Mrs. Meanie.
Breaking news.
Hey, let's get the action news. Yeah.
Breaking news.
Okay, well, that's awesome.
Actually, wait. So I actually wrote myself a theme song yesterday, but we'll do that later. We'll do that. I wrote a theme song. I have my own theme song. Now,
good.
But that's not what I wanted to talk about. They have a design for Shad over on Pro Wrestling.
And that's awesome.
So, breaking news during the actual broadcast of Mine and Meanie.
And I love Power and Elbow, but spread it out between both of these companies.
Yeah, and this is important.
Right?
Yeah, it's important to note that there is no law against getting a shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees and Collar and Elbow to support the family of Shad Gaspard. In fact, it is suggested.
Yeah, I mean, definitely no crime in supporting both companies. Get both shirts, compare and contrast, wear both at the same time. It all goes to Shad's family, which is a good thing. So definitely go out there and support Shad's family. And if you're going to go to Pro Wrestling Tees or Collar and Elbow, skip the promo code. Just give the family the 100% there.
Oh,
and,
100%. Yes, definitely.
Let's help them out.
Couldn't agree more on that one.
Also, if you also want to reach out to DeMeanie and get a personalized greeting from me, go to cameo.com/Blue Meanie. Or no, I'm stupid. Go to cameo.com/Blue Meanie BWO and get a greeting from the Blue Meanie. I've been doing a ton of birthday wishes and well wishes and congratulations and all that good stuff. So go over to Cameo and search the Blue Meanie and pretty much. You're
not gonna wait a couple days. Like he's gonna get it done right away.
See, Mrs. Meanie has been on the other side of a lot of one-sided conversations with me doing the podcast and the cameos. That I appreciate these run-ins. So, I've been doing a lot of cameos. Been doing a lot of doing the podcast, doing a lot of appearances, and we got some appearances coming up. But if you want a birthday wish, I will gladly do one for you immediately over at Cameo.
All right. Well, I think we have plugged everything that we have to plug, I believe, Meanie. Any final words to wrap up episode 9, our first official episode on the MLW Network?
First of all, thank you to the MLW Network for having us, man. This means a lot. It's a big deal. And when we announced, a lot of people reached out and was like, good job. Yeah. So, we're very happy to be with the MLW Network. Officially the MLW Radio Network.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for listening. I know we're a little long-winded with this episode, but it's a story, with the Owen story, I really haven't said out loud. And I tried to keep from being a babbling baby and a weeping sobby baby, because it's something I really never had to say out loud. And thank you for sticking through and listening to this extended issue of Mine and DeMeanie. And thank you for everybody who supports us through the Pro Wrestling Tees stores, through Collar and Elbow, through Cameo, especially the ProWrestlingTees.com/Mine and DeMeanie page. All that money goes into help better our show, whether it's sound equipment or just paying, fees for everything we do to keep, giving you a better sounding show. And, now with MLW, we got to hit it out of the park. So MLW, we got to hit it out of the park. So thank you for everybody who supports us. Thanks for the feedback. Feel free to give us all the feedback in the world. It just means you're listening, you're paying attention, and you want to help out or tell us what we're doing good. Tell us what you'd like to hear. So we're open to it all.
Yeah, I second all of that. And Meanie, just want to say, I want to thank you again for being so candid with the story about that day with Owen Hart and just, and some of the things that you went into. I really appreciate that on behalf of, just as, putting my fan hat on, just as a fan of Owen's and a fan of yours, to be able to have you share something like that. It does provide a little bit of closure and catharsis, so to speak. And I hope that you found that as well for yourself. That is about it for us here. Make sure to follow us on social media at Mind of the Meanie. And while you're at it, follow us, the individuals, as well. Meanie can be found on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Blue Meanie BWO, as well as Cameo. And I am at Says Shernoff on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Don't forget to visit mindofthemeanie.com for all of our great new shirts. That takes you right over to Pro Wrestling Tees. We've got Meanie shirts over at Pro Wrestling Tees as well. And of course, Pro Wrestling Tees / Blue Meanie. That's what that is. And I can't read. And collarandelbowbrand.com, promo code Meanie. For the Blue Meanie, I am Josh Shernoff. Join us again next Monday for another trip into the mind of the Meanie.
Blue World Order. The world of MLW radio never stops.